Yeah, here I come. But
Good morning, everyone.
I heard. We
Good morning.
orders.
Okay, we'll get this thing started. Thank you for coming today. Obviously, we got a big group here today, one of our larger groups, which is great. We're going to start this morning with by welcoming the color guard, the VFW Post 577, who will post the colors. At this time, I would like you to please stand for our national anthem.
Okay.
The Gateway PGA strives to be an inclusive organization and welcomes those of all faiths and those of none. At this time, I would like to ask Daryl Hardig to come up to please give the invocation. Daryl?
Morning, everyone. For those who wish to engage in prayer, I invite you to join me now for the invocation. Heavenly Father, as we gather today as a group of professionals to prepare for the start of a great season of golf, as we make our way through the days and months ahead, watch over us and our families. Keep us all safe and healthy. Lord, watch over our soldiers currently serving both here and abroad, as well as our veterans. Lord, let us feel your presence in everything we do. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay. The goal of this meeting, as you all know, and the attire speaks to today, we tried to make this a little more casual today. We also tried to condense it down a little bit with the goal of obviously playing golf and getting out there in a timely manner. We certainly have our TNT shootout today as well, which is very important to us, and we want to encourage folks. Hopefully the weather cooperates and we can pull that off on time today. The tournament committee will be meeting around 10 o'clock to discuss the golf situation and in conjunction with the superintendent here as far as rain and if we'll be able to have the event this afternoon. But that was our plan, and that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing today. So we're excited. We've got a very special guest today in the 43rd president of the PGA of America, John Lindard. So John, thank you for being here today. In addition to John, we also have our District 7 Director, Barry Howard, and along with our incoming District 7 Director, Sean Hanna from Loch Lloyd. Sean will be shadowing Barry all season, and so thank you guys for being here as well. For those who don't know, District 7, it's comprised of our section, the South Central section, and the Midwest section. So we spend a lot of time with those guys throughout the year. Also, I would like to make you aware of, we've got QR codes on those printed itineraries there, agendas that you'll see on your table. If you wanted to scan in there and see what's happening and when and what we're doing next, you certainly do so. I'd also like to thank Norwood Hills and the staff here. We got Brandon Smith, Kyle Shahowski, Matt Dillman, Bobby Pavlonis, Byron Clark, and Will Postlewait. Did I get that right, Will? All right. And if I didn't, I'm going to work on it. We're going to get it. Also like to thank our sponsors today. John Sheridan from Under Armour, Dave Reed from Fairways to Heaven, and Ian Crick with Strackline, and then obviously our TNT Shootout sponsor and Chris Hempen. So thank you all for sponsoring today's event. The agenda today, we'll start off, Allie will come up, we'll cover our 2023 recaps and successes. Then we'll move into membership updates. That'll include some membership milestones. Also, we'll talk about the awards process and what we're doing there. The section's long-term strategic plan. Also, deferred compensation. From there, probably around 9 o'clock, we're going to move into some breakout sessions with 2 topics today. One session will be covering the Assistants Association, what the Assistants Association does, how it can help your assistants, and if you are an associate or a pre-qualifier, such, just to know what's out there for you to help in your journey and your process. So that'll be one of them. At the same time, PGA Member Services, led by Jackie Madison and Austin Jarkow, they'll be in the other room. I'll kind of go over who's going where when we get to that point. Then we'll come back in here, we'll reconvene for a Q&A with John Lindard, Barry Howard, our District 7 Director, and myself. We'll move in from there. We'll move into the formal business meeting. Hopefully everything is wrapped up by 11:30. That's when we plan to have lunch. And then hopefully go into the TNT shootout from there, followed by hopefully the Quad Pro. So lots to cover, but hopefully we're going to condense it this morning. We do want this to be interactive, so when you guys are, especially in those breakout sessions, please ask questions. It's so much better when people interact and get things moving. So we encourage that. Along with when John's up here on stage, same thing. I know some of you already sent in questions, but for those who are just thinking of questions while you're sitting here, there'll be a time for that. So don't hesitate. At this time, I'd like to, we'll play a little video from our presenting sponsor in Under Armour. John wasn't able to be here today. He's being given an award in the Nebraska section today, which probably doesn't come as a huge surprise to you guys that work with him. He does such a great job. So congratulations. And at this time, we'd like to start the video.
Good morning. Welcome to the Gateway Section PGA Section Meeting for 2024, sponsored by myself, John Sheridan, and Under Armour. I'm sorry I'm not with you today, but I'm going to be up in Nebraska at their section meeting and couldn't be at two places at one time. But I wanted to make sure that we continued our sponsorship in supporting the Gateway Section today. I hope everyone received their Under Armour backpack with the new PGA logo on it. And just want to thank everyone for your support over the years. And if I can be of any help or service, we continue to support the PGA of America in attending the PGA show in Orlando, and also an approved vendor with the PGA of America at the PGA Championship and also at the Ryder Cups. I want to thank everyone for their continued support. And if I can be of any service or help in the future, I hope you have a great meeting today.
Okay, thank you, John. So normally this time of year, we'd play a recap video showing a lot of pictures of our tournaments from last year. This year, we decided to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to call up Allie Wells here in a second to kind of cover all of our important wins and successes within the section. So not just tournaments, but all the things that we're doing. So at this time, Allie, will you please come up?
Thanks, Grant. Good morning. Good to see everyone here. And while we don't have records going back further than, official records year by year than when we switched from Blue Golf to Golf Genius, anecdotally, I think this is one of the largest membership turnouts for a meeting in quite a few years. So thank you all very much for being here. As Grant said, we're going to start this membership meeting off with a quick look back at 2023, to recap some wins, some successes. In the past, you've probably seen like a year review video that we've played, some scrolling photos, maybe shows a few stats here and there. We thought we would do it a little bit differently this year and just call out some accomplishments that we all achieved together. So you'll see some of these rolling on the screen. I'm going to roll through them kind of quickly, but just a couple of things to note. These are achievements that we all accomplished together. Board, committees, staff, the entire membership. So a preemptive thank you. And then I hope you enjoy some of the things that we've called out. This is certainly not an exhaustive list because I'm on a clock up here. So we tried to pull out some of the most important. And one more note, these are accomplishments from 2023, wins from 2023. If there's a comparison number, it's compared just from the previous year. So you can see some pretty neat growth points and impacts just in 1 year over year. To start, we dispersed over $670,000 of direct revenue into PGA members' pockets through PGA Junior League programs, foundation programs like PGA Hope and PGA Able, and tournament purses. We conducted 26 virtual or in-person education opportunities throughout the year. We created new associate orientations and held 2 events for 20 new associates, pre-qualifiers, qualifier eligible, and affiliates. We launched the Assistants Association for assistants, associates, PQs, QEs, and affiliates. 195 members completed or updated their compensation profile, an increase from 130 in 2022. 46 members, unique members, served in a leadership capacity on a committee. We welcomed 18 new associates in 2023, up from welcoming 13 new associates in 2022. we purchased and moved into the new home of the Gateway PGA section office. We gifted 70 sets, or more than 70 sets of golf clubs to PGA Hope veterans through the Delmar Mortgage Club Drive. We scholarshiped 199 PGA Junior League golfers throughout the section, an increase from 122 in 22. We increased our Gateway PGA Junior Tour membership by 25%, from 670 to 835 members. We increased the number of Junior Tour rounds played from 3,589 to 4,712, a 31% increase in rounds played. We drove over $202,000 of direct revenue to PGA facilities through the Junior Tour Foundation programs and the tournament program. We raised over $2,500 for charities selected by PGA professionals through our Junior Tour two-day tournaments. We increased drive, chip, and putt participants by over 100 individual unique golfers in 2023. We welcomed 32 first-time tournament program participants in 2023. We secured 6 new sponsors in 2023. We increased the overall number of participants in our national qualifier tournaments by 16. We secured $7,000 in grants specifically for supplying youth golf clubs to partner organizations. We spotlighted over 40 Gateway members. We drove a 47% growth in section social media engagement. We launched PGA Able, Abilities Beyond Life's Expectations, and conducted 3 programs throughout the section. We served 300 veterans through PGA Hope programs, an increase of 50 from 2022. We grew the number of PGA Hope programs we offered from 10 to 14 locations. Over 100 members enrolled in deferred comp in its first year. 86 members were ADM certified in 2023, an increase from 77 in 22. We increased PGA.coach profiles of Gateway members from 49 to 66. We launched the Play Through Capital campaign for the North St. Louis Youth and Community Center. We tracked over $468,000 of documented compensation increases to Gateway members. And we celebrated the Gateway PGA's first ever national award winner. Those are some of the highlights from 2023. Thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Allie. That was a long list, and everybody should be proud of what's happening here. So thank you to you and your team, the staff, but also thank you to all the members that are making all this work. So yeah, we just wanted to cover that today. Thought that was very important. At this time, I would like to invite Adam Betts up to talk membership milestones. Adam?
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see such a nice crowd and a lot of new faces today. If I haven't met you, I look forward to that. And thanks to John, Barry, and Mike Beam for being here today as well. I'm going to go through our membership milestones. And since our last fall meeting, which was last December, we've had a couple members who deserve special recognition for their accomplishments. One Gateway PGA member celebrated their half-century member milestone, which celebrates 50 years as a PGA professional. Not able to join us today, but still worthy of recognition, is Mr. Bill Hall. Please help me congratulate Bill on his 50 years. We also had one Gateway PGA member accomplish their specialized certification through the PGA of America's Lifelong Learning Program. Lifelong Learning offers PGA members advanced education curriculum through 3 different tracks: golf operations, teaching and coaching, and executive management. Members can advance through 3 levels beyond their Class A certification. These are becoming a certified professional, and finally a master professional. Earning his specialized professional certification in teaching and coaching this year is Mr. Mike Wyrick from Boone Valley Golf Club. Mike, congratulations. And I'll hand it back to Grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what Adam just said. There are a lot of new faces in here. That's one thing I've noticed over the past year, especially. Not only a lot of new faces, but a lot of young women in the audience, which is cool to see. Yeah, we're getting more diversity in what we're doing, and so anyway, glad to see it. Welcome. Yeah, like I look forward to meeting a lot of you too. There's a lot of new faces in the room, but it's awesome. It's positive. So glad you're here. Moving on to the awards process. So that's kind of an ever evolving thing. We oftentimes will have a committee that'll oversee the awards process that might offer suggestions of things we could do differently, things we could improve on. So anyway, that process is underway right now as well. It's being chaired by Gideon Smith. At this time, I'd like to invite Gideon up to say a few words about that process. Gideon?
Thank you, Grant. So every year the board kind of looks at a few items for awards. We're always trying to make it better for our members because you deserve the best. We have a great awards committee of Joe Schwent, Ryan Johnson, Adam Betts, Allie, and myself. And so right now, currently we've met once. Allie has pulled a bunch of the executive directors throughout all the sections. We've gotten some information back from them that we have kind of looked into and we'll look into more as we go forward. Some of the things that we're looking at are how committees are structured for those award groups that are put together. So right now we'll keep everybody posted as we keep moving forward, but that's kind of where we stand on the awards process, and I look forward to working with those professionals as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Gideon. Thanks to you guys, when we asked for the membership survey kind of towards the end of last year for feedback, when you guys fill out that information, that's what we use when we go into strategic planning, both long range and business planning for that upcoming season. So we did that again this off season, December and January. There's certain things that have to happen with that. So it's a combination of we're trying to do all the things that you guys are asking of us as a group, but we're also cognizant of what the PGA of America is asking us to do and the boxes that we need to check to receive the funding that the national office gives us to help run everything that we do. So it's a combination thing, and I think we're probably going to post our strategic business plan. It's certainly online too. You can see exactly what our pillars are, what our objectives are, and that's what we work off of. Not only as a section, but that's what the staff works off of too. So it's the guiding ship there. So priority areas, professional development, education opportunities, growing the assistance association, developing a mentor program, promoting members through different channels, increasing the understanding of PGA Reach Gateway Foundation, how it impacts you, the member, increasing the tournament program participation, fostering involvement in section leadership, which I'll touch on a little more later. We'll have an election again this fall for secretary, and ensuring the financial health of the section. That's very important too. And from those who have been around a lot longer than me, our section wasn't always in as good a position as it is today. So, kudos to Allie and Josh before that have got this going the right direction, and we're in a good spot. So, anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for your feedback, and if we ask for those surveys in the future, Please fill them out and please give us feedback because that's what we work off of. We're here to serve you guys. Let's see. Moving on to deferred compensation. We've got 106 members of our section who have enrolled in deferred comp, and we've got 40 so far that have met the 200-point threshold. So there's 66 of you that are probably pretty close. I know when Jackie speaks, Jackie and Austin, when they do their breakout, some of you have some questions regarding deferred comp. They can probably, especially Jackie, probably answer some of those questions. There's quite a few different ways to get points and to qualify. So I also experienced personally, like when I went through the process, we had hosted a tournament early in the spring, kind of before the thing really got going and before we really knew what we were dealing with regards to deferred comp. And I reached out to the PGA of America probably in the late summer, and I said, this thing is already passed. I missed my window to apply for the points on this, but they said, that's okay. It's our first year. We understand that that's going to kind of happen. So we're going to be a little more lenient. So what I'm saying is that the cycle ends on March 31st. Take a look at it, see if you did something over the past year that qualifies, that checks the box for you. I think in this first year, PGA of America will work with you. Going forward, probably not so much, probably stay within the timeline, but with it being year one, they seem to want to work with you. So, and I didn't get the death stare from any of the PGA folks here, so I guess what I'm saying is still accurate. Okay. What time is it here? We on time? We're going to move into the breakout sessions. Breakout sessions, these are going to be 30 minutes long each. The way we're going to do this, your agenda that's sitting in front of you, if you have a pink agenda, then you're going to get up and go to the Norlight room first. If you have a blue agenda in front of you, then you're just going to stay here. After 30 minutes, we'll rotate. The speakers will stay where they are. So at this time, if those of you have a pink agenda in front of you, if you'll move to the Norlight room, we'll keep it going.
$1. Oh, they're gone. I'll be paid that.
It can.
Yeah, got it. Got it done. No, it. Hey. Yeah, one. Thì các bé rồi mình về em đi ra tòa
Test.
I like that there. I remember. Dolly.
All right, good morning, everybody. I know we still have a minute left on the timer, but if everybody's ready, it looks like we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jackie Madison. I'm the PGA Career Consultant. I cover Gateway Midwest, and it's always a pleasure to be here in the Gateway section. So I'm a St. Louis native, so it always feels like I come home when I come into the Gateway. So glad to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Austin Jarko. I'm the Player Engagement Consultant. I'm here in Midwest, Gulf States, and South Central. And same thing, I home out of Kansas City, but with how much interaction I get with you all, I really feel at home here. So thank you so much.
So one of the challenges that we had when we were talking about putting this together is that we didn't want it to feel today like we were giving you the official download, so to speak. So we want to talk about what you want to talk about. So today's presentation is Ask Us Anything. So Thomas has our board here. So here's a bunch of potential topics we thought you all might want to talk about. And so we're going to let you all drive the bus today. So if somebody wants to just shout out what you'd like to start with, we'll talk about anything today. That is a question that probably is outside of our expertise because so much of that is related to what the IRS has to say about that. So Paul Fredericks is our contact at PGA headquarters. So I'd certainly be happy to connect you with Paul to talk about any questions specifically related to the nuts and bolts of deferred comp. So the answer to that is both. Certainly when we are in the room talking with employers about positions, open positions, we are actively advocating for the opportunity to get PGA professionals in the room. Specifically, that's a part of how our executive search services kind of grew to be, was that we really had a desire to be at the table and position PGA members to be viable candidates for general manager roles. So the more we can impact the leadership of a club, the more we can benefit PGA members and associates down the line. So that's a big part of it. We are definitely reliant, though. I mean, I can't be everywhere all the time. So I am 100% reliant on PGA members and associates to help communicate with me when there is an opening. Otherwise, I don't know where to be and when to be there. So certainly trying to be in the right places at the right time to create those opportunities for as many members and as many associates as possible. At the same time, doing some proactive outreach, trying to be in the room with members and their board directors, members and their general managers, so that when those opportunities become available and there's just a natural turnover of positions, that we're the first people they think about when they need to fill that job. So that we are considered and positioned as the experts in golf industry employment in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple things on there just in regards to why I think it's important. But overall, we're seeing some really good traction with family golf in relation to PGA Junior League, honestly. So setting it up as, a celebration of events, a kickoff event to a Junior League, a celebration type event after a Junior League season ends. We're seeing family golf programs pop up around holidays. And creating an experience around that event where it's a par three, every hole's a par three. We've got games on the tee boxes while families are waiting to play up while the next family's finishing. But it's less about golf. I'm sorry, but it's more about the time together and really experiencing that. So it's a lunch or a dinner before or after. It's a costume contest. It's a cart decorating contest. It's yard games on every hole. The golf is fun. It's there to bring everybody together, but it's not so much the main reason for why you're there. That answer your question?
Yes. I've worked actively with Topgolf. So when Topgolf has positions and they have a couple of different layers of professional instruction positions. So each facility typically has a director of instruction and then maybe one or more golf instructors. So we work with them on those jobs get posted on the job board. We've had many PGA members who've been very successful in a director of instruction role at Topgolf. And we don't typically see as many PGA members or associates hired as golf instructors, though we do work with them to, once they make those hires, to get them into the PGA program. So yes, X-Golf is on the rise. There have been a number of X-Golf locations. Currently, X-Golf is opening a branch in Glen Carbon over on the Illinois side, so they are currently advertising. We've seen that in Leawood, a couple of locations in Kansas City. So those are very... they see the value of having a PGA professional on their property and making sure that there are instruction and quality leagues, and they're really creating quite a business niche for themselves there. Golf Tech is owned and operated by a PGA member. That would be certainly an off-course instruction only. They are very pro PGA member, and we work with them to make sure that their openings are filled and getting their associates and instructors through the program as well. I think where else? Spinoff from Topgolf is Blue Jeans Golf, which is buying up kind of troubled driving ranges and refurbishing them, reviving them, Top Tracer technology, and they have a very strong interest in getting PGA members to provide quality instruction and programming at their facilities. So we've been working hand in hand with them as well.
Top Shots.
Top Shots, yes. New one going down in Southeast Missouri too, called Tea Time. So they're all very interested in having PGA members. We need more PGA members to satisfy their demand, quite frankly, and PGA members who want to do that. So
I think on my side of that, to the same point, is a lot of the owners of those facilities recognize that you can't just open and sell memberships and be successful, right? So you have to have some sort of programming in order to keep them there, in order to keep them engaged, and have a, really that multiple stream of income for those indoor facilities. And, to Seth's point, that's certainly where we're seeing it on the player engagement side. We're seeing the growth on that, not so much the golf course side right now, but I'm curious to see what happens in the industry over the next few years to see what the connection is between golf and these non-golf products that are becoming so important. And to, Jackie's point, bringing up Blue Jeans Golf earlier, that's their mission. They've got one in Kansas City right now to try and bridge that gap. And so who else is going to bridge that gap? And so, are we going to look at it as a third party, or are the facilities, are we going to have anything to help, rein in those new golfers?
Yeah, I think kind of a nice segue from that too is not only are we seeing these non-traditional off-course, non-traditional places like you doing simulator golf, but we're also seeing that at clubs and golf facilities, both public and private. I mean, it's more predominantly in the private realm, but when I covered the Minnesota section, that was certainly becoming a way that they were able to transition many of those what they had typically considered seasonal assistant positions and be able to pay them through the winter so that they didn't have to make the seasonal shift. So not only is it happening outside of our facilities, it's happening within the golf facility, traditional golf facilities as well. And so how we need to have that active conversation when facilities are talking about those as to how they can utilize, where Austin's and the player engagement team is talking about how they can utilize those to maximize the return on investment, but also on our side, how we fairly compensate professionals for that increased workload in the off season where we typically been getting some downtime. So kind of a couple pieces to that as well.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, right? I think predominantly when Junior League was created, it was with the idea of getting kids on the golf course. And we're in a situation right now where golf course access is extremely complex. It's a complex conversation. I could talk to you all day about making sure that the kids have time to get out there, and you can talk to me all day about why it's important for your members to make sure that they have tee times, right? And so it kind of goes back and forth into our point. We're seeing more simulator access these days. And yeah, we're seeing quite a few different types of programs. The beauty of Junior League is that, and I'll say, I don't care what your regular season looks like, right? The only time I'm ever going to tell you what it needs to look like is during the section championship, the regional championship, national championship, that kind of stuff. But you can host your practices however you want to, right? And so if there's a best practice for you in your facility, who am I to tell you otherwise, right? And so I think that there's a lot of flexibility built within it. Certainly can discuss some of the positives and negatives that I've heard from other facilities, but I think just overall, a lot of people are really getting flexible and creative with their ability to get kids indoors and playing year round. And with the game changer fee going from 75 per season to 99 per year, we're really encouraging that kind of atmosphere as well. I mean, talk about an ability to create an academy and really retain clients year round. Not only is that the most bang for their buck as well, because they're getting more use out of that game changer fee, but you're also getting more money year round and not just per season.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. So we do have a scholarship assistance program. Yeah, and right now that covers the game changer fee and the coaching fee up to $175. Yeah, so I would highly encourage you to look into that. There's multiple ways to qualify for that program. One being financial assistance, being on like a food plan, and then the second, drawing a blank on the second one real quick. I don't know why you would know that. But extenuating circumstances, that's what it is. Yeah, so it covers a really broad range. Yeah, and then there's a military program as well.
What else? Anybody got something else? Anything from the board? Anything you want to know about from the board? Tell it. Great question. So I would say we're probably a little bit of a transition. So they are definitely digital. They definitely need to look good digitally because very few employers actually print them out anymore. But we'll talk just a little bit about, I mean, kind of keep in mind too that they're marketing documents. They're not legal documents. So they have to really look like, they have to look visually appealing. So we're seeing most of those move from traditional type word processing type software into more a digital and visual presentation software, something like Adobe Illustrator, Canva, those types of things. And the candidates are kind of really being held right based on the entire field of the group that applies for that position. So if you're black and white only, just standard bullet points the way we did it 10 or 15 years ago, and others are doing nicely presented visual documents, you kind of fall to the bottom of the pile. So you have to be able to show that you are technology savvy, that you understand visual presentation, that they can develop your story, they can understand your story, kind of showing your value. So you have to be able to kind of think about that really in terms of, I'm not just telling them the facts about me, I have to be selling myself as the product. So when you're talking about, I'm going to apply for a new position, I am the product, I am my product, and I have to ensure that the employers want to take a second look at me. So your resume, your cover letter need to be, your resume is going to be fairly standard, but it's going to be tweaked to each unique individual opportunity. The cover letter should be entirely unique. And I think that's one of the things, two of the biggest things I see is that candidates, number one, they do not submit a cover letter. And that is a huge red flag. So a lot of people have, I mean, just a, it's coming through executive search, no cover letter, we don't get an interview. So you have to tell your story. The cover letter is all about telling why you are good for that particular position, right? And it's selling. So when you're selling a product in the open marketplace, you're selling how that product is going to improve the life of the person who's going to purchase that. And so when you think about your cover letter and your resume, you have to be showing your prospective employer how their world is going to get better with you in it. So that's a part of the cover letter, is to be able to tell the story that the kind of the facts and the documented successes on your resume don't, why you want to be there, why you are a good fit for that facility, what you're going to do to help them. And that would be the other thing I see is mostly people explain in the cover letter why such and such opportunity is great for them or their career. So those are kind of some things that are turnoffs to the employers, but they definitely need to, I think I've got a couple samples, Thomas, if you want to advance a couple slides. So go on one more, maybe one more. There we go. So if you're still doing black and white, like this is just a sample of a resume that people are doing. If you're still on the black and white, this is what 50% or more of the people who are applying for those positions are presenting. Your cover letter is going to look very similar, right? It's going to have some nice graphics and some things that are going to be able to catch their, kind of get a little eye candy at the start. But more and more too, brevity is key when we start talking about paper. And so more and more I'm seeing people come up with a digital portfolio or a digital profile, a website, for lack of a better word, where you can collect things like, especially you're a teacher, so short video clips of your lessons, maybe links to your Instagram feed or things like that, maybe links to your social profiles, some stats. When I helped hire for the PGA Coaching Center, one of the instructors had some really great graphs and charts on his resume, and it was one of his goals was to get to 10,000 shots saved. So they were tracking basically what was the student's score when they came in, average score, and how were they helping to reduce the score? How were they helping to reduce their handicap? So 10,000 shots saved, that's a pretty significant number when a prospective employer is reaching that. And as an instructor, it's pretty hard to quantify, right? Maybe you teach 1,300 lessons this year, but were they good lessons? We don't know. What's the one metric we can use to know if they're good lessons is, did you actually help your students improve? So I would say the other big thing that I see for people is really failure to track your results. Kind of when the resume looks like the job description. I see a lot of things from assistants looking for their first head pro job. It's like I answer the phone, I check people in, oversee the bag room staff. Show me some numbers. How many rounds do you do? What's your golf shot volume? How did you assist in growing that? How did you save money? How did you increase efficiencies? We all pretty much know what assistant golf pros do. We know everybody answers the phone and everybody checks people in. Show me what makes you different. So those are some things that I would say. So if you're an instructor, I would say look at what can I quantify that shows people that I am a really good instructor, and you probably have some really good ideas about that. If you're into business ops, show me some other things. What's the volume of the budget you deal with? How did you make significant financial impacts? How are you saving, what's your employee turnover? How are you onboarding? How are you training? Who's in your tree? What can you show me that proves to me that you're really good at what you do?
Yeah, I think it's difficult with instructors just to figure out the impact on facilities, but anything you can do to try and figure out, like, my students, spent X amount of dollars in the pro shop. I was able to retain X number of members. I prevented these 4 members from leaving with this process, whatever that looks like. But yeah, I mean, 100%. And I was going to even, throw on a resume, like, your either the number of lessons that you've taught year over year, show some growth potentially, or, some sort of shot tracking, like to your point, but having some sort of KPI that matters to you, that you can track, that is important to you and what you think would be important to a future employer, I think be really, really beneficial.
And if you're interested in doing a digital profile, those are great because they're really easy to update, and they're, they live online all the time. So you can put it on your LinkedIn feed. People can go and see about you. You can keep just a snapshot of your current resume if you want. If you're a Gmail user, Google Sites is free, and it's pretty, it's really user-friendly, easy to learn. You can probably make a satisfactory website in half an hour?
Super intuitive.
Adobe Spark, Canva's got some really simple ways to create some digital flipbooks that are available online. So there's a ton of free and easy software that you can create a portfolio with that can showcase your body of work really quickly and easily.
As far as like any of the KPIs or any of the tracking, I don't think yet. I agree that it should be. I know that we're working on a coach locker that I'm hoping we can have different links like that in there. But as far as, PGA coach and its future capabilities, I think that's on the radar of how do we tell your story a little bit better. But you can definitely go in, create a profile, tell everybody all about you. If a customer goes on and they're looking for a PGA coach, they can siphon through, I believe, a handful of people. Like if we were to go online PGA coach right now and try and find somebody, it would have like a local, like a radius, right? But I think you have an opportunity to tell your story, share your profile, make sure that you have everything in there that you want to be able to, sell yourself to the customer. Yeah.
And it should be, I said in your LinkedIn bio, it should be on your, a link to your profile or your digital website, digital portfolio, whatever you want to call it, should be in all of your social media feeds, whatever you're out there that's public facing, link right to that should be in your profile for all your socials.
They do have the ability to create a profile on there, and so I'm pretty sure you have that option to like put a bio and put an about me, that kind of thing in there. So I know that much exists. As far as adding any type of KPIs or resume or anything like that, I'm pretty sure you can put in like a hot link to be able to go to an external site that direction. Yeah. So we track the number of leads, and then it's difficult because not everybody runs their POS through PGA Coach. You have that ability through Stripe to be able to connect that. But we've seen about every lead be about $550, which is pretty solid, right? So that's, 4, 5, 6, 7 lessons depending on what you're doing. But if you can get somebody in, and if you give that person one lesson, there's a good chance they're going to come back and more. Yeah, so it's a marketing campaign ran by the PGA of America. So if you pull up a leaderboard like you would during like PGA Championship to see who's winning, you might see your name on there as a PGA coach that can give you lessons, right? And so we run, I know they run quite a few ads concurrently like that, but it is local. So if you click on it, there's a local professional near you, and I believe that the more you use it, the more leads you would generate. But I can't speak 100% about how that would essentially siphon to you. Does that make sense? But it is local. You can go on there, find a PGA coach nearest you. They do run ads through PGA sites and things along those natures. As far as modern coach is a little bit different. That's the Will Robbins information, right? Where we are trying to actively talk about work-life balance, and, how do I give, instead of 1,000 lessons, can I give 500 lessons and have a little bit more, time at home or time to do other things, right? I think we've seen the most success with that program, the Modern Coach program, outside of the everyday instructor, but more of like your head pro and your assistants who have other duties as well, that they don't generally necessarily have a whole bunch of time to go teach 6, 7 hours of the day, right? But they can teach 2 hours of the day. How do I optimize those 2 hours that I'm out there? I know you wanted to, and I do too. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that it's an inquiry in the tech teams department right now. Yeah, definitely. You still have to go in and fill out your profile, complete your training, XYZ. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I will emphasize real quick just about the PGA coach to hammer that nail home. I've got 93 leads in my current PGA coach profile right now that if I had more time, I'd be all over, right? But that's 93 people that are out there looking for lessons that I probably would have never connected with as is. People are using the app. People are looking for instruction. People are looking for people. They're reaching out. And right now, we don't have enough people to capture that data, right? And so, a couple $100 goes a long way. So I'd highly encourage everybody. I know that we have 86 people using the platform in the Gateway section. I know that we can get more involved, but that's a quick win, right? So we talk about, rebuffing, unfortunately things happen, right? And people leave PGA junior programs. A good way to get some people in there. We got junior leads in here. I got adult leads in here. I got people that are really good players looking through PGA coach. I've got people that are just beginning, right? So it's a wide array of abilities that are looking for help on that app. But you get them involved, you get them involved early and often, and all of a sudden now they're looking at more than just lessons. So I would highly encourage everybody to really take advantage of that thing, that program that you don't have to pay for.
Okay. Anybody else? Hey, Thomas, could you jump forward to the compensation just real quickly? So, Allie mentioned this. Some good news, right? Documented $468,350 in compensation increases in the sections. So just want to kind of share with you a little bit about how that's calculated. So one of two ways. If you've completed a profile in 2022 and a profile in 2023, our data analyst was able to ascertain the difference between the two. Or if you had a negotiated compensated increase that you shared with me, that falls in there. So as Grant mentioned, we had 65 people complete a profile for the first time in 2023. So hopefully we're going to show that this is a more impactful number in 2024. But if you have not completed your compensation profile yet, it is annual, right? As Grant mentioned, the PGA of America does provide funding to sections based on our participation as a group in these national initiatives. One of them is the compensation profile. Others are PGA Junior League. And those types of player engagement initiatives. So if you have not done it yet in 2024, it is we have an annual ask. So please make sure if you did it in 23, make sure you get it done by the end of 24. That really helps us and it helps you. It is confidential information and we're happy to provide those peer-to-peer studies. Hey, it really probably varies, maybe hyper-locally and depending on what's going on at the club level. Just as an example, I had a general manager position that I filled through ExecuSearch in 2023, and we moved compensation about $140,000 to the positive. That obviously shows the club was really underpaying that professional in the first place. But we're not going to see that tremendously. So if you looked at the stats for general managers in my territory, they'd be I won't say falsely, but they would be inflated above the average for 2023. The good news is it's going up for entry level people, which is really positive. Obviously we've got some issues with work-life balance and compensation that we're still working through as an industry. But there's also kind of keep in mind too, this is a backwards look. We're looking at compensation increases. There's things like cost of living and then what's replacement cost. So we have to kind of combine that too with a backwards look and a forwards look when you start thinking about replacing positions or what your negotiating position is. Good question. So for those of you who didn't hear it, what's our take on best practices for attracting and retaining staff? And, obviously one is we all know that there's really big weeks, especially if you're in the private club industry. There are huge weeks every, in the life of every club, member, guest, member, club championship. And those are kind of all hands on deck weeks, and really trying to be cognizant of making sure that you're not working everybody at that pace all year long. Those are big weeks and you have to try and give people time to rest and recharge. We just can't go, we kind of fell into a rut as an industry where we kind of work people like machines, right? And, you can't drive your car from April 1st to the end of October without taking it in for an oil change if you drive it 24/7. So we've got to have time to rest, to recharge, weekends off here and there, try and give everybody on your staff a summer holiday so that you can spend some time with family and try and be as cognizant as possible of the things that people are looking for from their work.
Yeah.
You pretty much nailed it, but it's a loaded question just in general. But yeah, the balance, the compensation, the making sure that the work hard, play hard mantra, right? And I think we often forget about the play, and so I think if the more we can focus on that, I think people will be more bought in the future.
Well, thanks everybody. One question more back there. What we got?
Good.
Yes, you're correct, Jimmy. And that's certainly the more we're in the room with your general managers and your board of directors, it's a consistent message. But I can tell you, I'm actively involved with our brothers and sisters in the CMAA side, and they see it and feel it, right? Those general managers are dealing with it not just in the golf department, but they're dealing with it in agronomy and food and beverage, right? And the positive thing that I've seen as boards turn over and we have some more diversity and some younger folks on boards is that it's a message that's not so out of the box to them. They get it. And so if we're speaking it and we're all of one solid message together across the industry, there's people willing to hear that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your question.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't know if we. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, there was something. I had a question. I don't want everything. That's it. Big Bucky. Like, on the bikes. It's empty. Most of the time. Yeah, down. It's a real baby that good. It's so good. You have my direct tax on the three. Yeah. Wait, look at that. Not in my apartment, but it's thoughts. So that's they said fight you. We get a shit. I think problem. Yeah. It's not like you know it. I emailed that. I'm not gonna hear us. Got him together. All on the room. We're gonna put down it. It's what done. I'm ready to get made. It is. You're right. Look. Leave on. Look it on. You really lose the count. This. I got there and away. In this way. But it's like that to the way. They'll be creative this way that. Or what in it. Yeah, I see it. And I've been in back party. They were in your back. I didn't know in 3 bits ago on the game. I'll leave it. I think that might be anything. We don't have a problem. And Oh. I was like, you're out there. Bye. Get out. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah. Great. No, it bought up down. I know. You know, I sure. That guy. You okay? Like that's yeah. You captain. There you go. Well, take well, yeah, take. You go. I don't go on the run ahead. I look.
All right, everybody, we need to go ahead and get started. See the timer up there, so that means we are on the clock.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Jackie Madison. I'm the PGA career consultant. I cover Gateway and Midwest. So, I'm a St. Louis girl, so it always feels like I come home when I come to the Gateway, and really always happy to be here. So,
Thank you. My name is Austin Jarko. I'm the player engagement consultant for here, Midwest, South Central, and now Gulf States. And I am just super excited to be here. You guys always take good care of me. And yeah, I grew up in Kansas City and haven't really made it over here very much. I'm still learning every day.
all right, well, we have a little bit different presentation today. We didn't want this to feel like this was an official PGA download of information from us to use. So we're going to let you all choose the topics that you want to talk about. We want to be able to provide you information about what you would like to hear about. So today's topic is kind of ask us anything. Choose what you'd like to discuss, and we'll share with you and answer any questions that we possibly can. So, Dan Politis.
Yeah. All day.
So you have to register one time. So you don't have to register on a every year basis, but you do have to submit your points within 60 days of completed activity. So that part's on the PGA member each and every time you have a qualifying activity. You bet. Thomas, resumes, cover letters? Resumes and cover letters. So resumes and cover letters. So one of the first things is really consider these, right? These are marketing documents. They're not legal documents. So you are trying to present yourself as just think about how we market any product to a consumer, right? We're trying to show how the product that you have to sell is going to meet a need of the consumer so much so that they are enticed to buy it. So that's the same thing with your resume and your cover letter. You want to show them your story, why you're going to be beneficial in their organization, what is the value that you bring, and make them want to talk with you more so that you get the opportunity to prove that you belong in their organization. Let's go forward one slide. So, cover letters, I'll say the two biggest mistakes I see for people in cover letters, the biggest one is not writing and submitting one. So if it's coming through one of our executive search services, it's just a pretty firm rule. Typically, the employers will tell us, look, if they don't bother to send a cover letter, we don't need to bother to give them an interview. So it's pretty much a requirement. You just need to tell the story, right? That's the one thing that gives you the opportunity to segue the experience and the value that you show on your resume to why you want to be at that particular facility. And your cover letter should be unique. So that's probably the second biggest mistake is I'll ask a prospective candidate for the resume, and then they'll send me a resume and a cover letter. This is the cover letter I use. Well, that doesn't necessarily convey maybe what that particular employer is looking for. So your cover letter should be unique to the opportunity, and it should tell the story about why you want to work there. And it should answer some specific questions. And I sit in the room with a lot of committees to know that if you don't answer a question that they have for them, they're going to kind of make up their own story. So if you're a out of area candidate, for example, if you wanted to apply for a job in Chicago, why do you want to move from St. Louis to Chicago? Is it because you have family? Is it because you're just really enticed by the opportunity? Why do you want to be there? So give them the answer to the questions they're going to ask. And then, try and look at the things that they're asking for, right? What's their mission? What's their vision? What are the values of the organization? Do some research on them. What does it say on their website? Try and use the language that they use. So make sure that you're showing yourself as a part of the organization already by the resume and cover letters that you send. Thomas, one more slide. So your resume, that's an opportunity to show your value and your documented successes. So probably the third biggest mistake I see is people do not track your success enough to show your value. And that's different depending on what type of role you want. So if you want to be a teaching professional, director of instruction, you want to show different metrics and key performance indicators than if you want to be a director of golf or a head golf professional. So you want to show them successes. If merchandising is a big part of that job description, you want to show them what's the total sales volume, what's your COGS, how have you improved, what things have you brought to the operation that have improved one or both of those metrics. So making sure that you show the relevant skills, know exactly what they're looking for, and tailor your materials to each opportunity. We got one more there. There we go. So they should be visually appealing. So most people are moving from a traditional Word document. I see a lot still submitted in Word. That's it's very dangerous to submit it in Word and not in PDF form because you never know what software the user is using to open that up. So PDF, at least you're guaranteed that they're going to see the resume in the way that you've put it together. If you share it in Word and your end user, your end receiver is a Mac user, it may come through all jumbled and they may not have any idea who you are or what it is that you've done. So make sure you're always submitting in PDF, but move into something like Canva. You can do some really creative things in Google Slides, Adobe Illustrator, it needs to be visually appealing, kind of showing some use of colors, showing some use of graphics. It needs to be eye-catching. If you're just submitting black and white and you're competing with somebody who's done something like this, it shows a lack of technological savviness, and it shows a lack of marketing and awareness. So, any other specific questions? All right, very good. Good question. Well, so does it have to be one page? I'd say depending on how far along you are in your career, or how many different positions you've had. So if you are relatively entry level, probably first 5 years of your career, probably an ideal would be 1-page cover letter, 1-page resume, and 1 page of references and testimonials. And if you've got a digital portfolio or a personal website, there'd be a link on all 3 of those pieces of materials to show your broader portfolio and what you've tracked along the way. If you've been in the business for several years and you've got some significant accomplishments at multiple facilities, probably 2 pages on the resume, but I would try and keep it to 4. Kind of new rule of thumb, if you will, is if it's more than 10 years old, you don't need to have bullet points or anything unless that represents a really significant career accomplishment there. But you can highlight that in other ways. So if you've been a director of golf for 15 years, you don't have to go back and list the 2 or 3 different facilities. I mean, just list those facilities where you served as an assistant professional, just title, facility, location, approximate date. You don't have to have, I learned how to answer the phone and schedule the outside services staff, right? That's all kind of assumed once you've kind of reached a certain point in your career. Good questions. What else? That's a really good question. So the question is attracting and retaining staff. If you have somebody who's a junior in college, kind of what resources do we have for that? There are a number of resources. Obviously, Austin's got a ton of programs through player engagement, and I'm sure he'll tack on something here in just a moment. But, there's perfect ways to kind of engage them into what we do as golf professionals in a relatively entry-level way, and a lot of that comes through the player engagement programs. But we also have, it depends on whether or not they're college athletes, too. If they're a college athlete, the affiliate program may not be the right route. But if they are not playing college golf or not participating in other collegiate athletics, we have the affiliate program, which means that they can go through level 1 without having eligible employment, and there's not a PAT requirement. So they can go ahead, if they wanted to catch a break and do one of our level 1 seminars on spring break, fall break, over their Christmas break, or in the summer, they could go all the way through level 1 between their junior year and senior year, and then be ready to start as an associate level 2 upon graduation. So there's a way to kind of get their toe in and get their feet wet, start working towards their PGA Class A membership while they're still in college. So.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, figure out what their interests are early, right? Do they have, a heavy interest in running golf tournaments? Do they have a heavy interest in, shop management, anything along those lines, but specific to the player engagement portion? Get them involved with the programs, the larger programs, and see how they interact, see what their thoughts are. Don't be afraid to hand them a program and say, hey, this is yours. See what it's like, and move on from there. And I think at that point, too, what you're doing is you're really just enticing them to figure out what the life of a PGA professional is going to look like. And it may not be, over the course of a year, maybe a much shorter time period where they're learning that, but they're still learning that, still trying to figure out what that looks like. And then from there, I like the questions on here. What are my competitors offering? What do I need to offer? What are other clubs finding? I think you're able to answer some of those questions together as they start to ask questions and starting to consider it for a long-term future.
Lance, did you have one too?
Yeah, are you speaking to so all-star play days in general? Yeah, in season. Yeah. So, we introduced the all-star play days as another route to get to the regional championship. So should a team, not qualify through the section championship, we still have that opportunity to send more facilities. We're really struggling. I'll admit we're struggling as an organization to really have the all-star play days catch on. So we're doing things like, not requiring an all-star team to play another all-star team to qualify for the regional championship leaderboard. So you can just play another team now, and your all-star team can still, have that score count. We're still at three rounds in order to qualify for it. But another change we made was the all-star roster. Last year was a hassle with, I would have 8 names, and then we would try and set up an all-star play day, and 6 out of the 8 names would come, and then you'd have to email me those 2 replacements, and then I'd have to call tech, and I'd have to move them over, and then I'd have to tell you, okay, you're good to go, and at full 9 yards, it was a mess. So we've removed that whole process. From now, you're able to control your all-star team at all times now. But I do think that this all-star play day concept is going to be a pretty heavy portion of the future of PGA Junior League. In what regard, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do think that it's going to be a very large portion of it. That can I answer your question? Yeah. Anything else specifically about him you're looking at?
All right. What else? Burning questions out there? Yeah.
No big deal. I don't.
No. So your pod or your coaches in your league can come together and just kind of talk about how you're going to choose. And I encourage that whenever I create leagues. That's one of the questions I have in there. How are you going to pick your all-star team for this year? Have those standards set early, so there is no question whenever the time comes. But we're quite a bit more flexible now than what we were back to the time period when you were referring to it. Yeah, do you have anything in particular that you're interested in?
Let me.
Yeah, we don't have a set program. You got to run 4, programs in order to qualify for the national championship or anything along those lines. We actually are really heavily encouraging facilities to run them as par 3 events. Have yard games on the tee boxes while they're waiting for the family ahead of you to finish the hole, and make it less about golf. And so it's based around having a meal before or after. It's based around a kickoff to PGA Junior League or a celebration at the end of Junior League. It's around holidays, setting it up as, a cart decorating contest, a costume contest, a family with the most spirit, but having different awards other than this team played the best. This team was best dressed, best cart decorators, brought the best dessert, anything along those lines that can really include the entire family, and it's less based around skill at that point. You can run it as a qualifier to the next stage, yes, but there is flexibility in that, yeah. So you guys can just essentially decide as a family or as a facility, you run an event and you say, hey, this team is by far and away the best team that we have. We're going to nominate them for the national championship, or you can run an actual qualifier. It's how you want your facility to look. Our national championship this year, and I believe the years going forward, is going to end up being in September. This year it's in Orlando at the Disney Resort. So we're really excited about that. So I don't have an exact cutoff date off the top of my head, but I'll follow up with you on that. But I believe it's going to be like close to August.
All right. What else?
Brett. Absolutely. So yeah, thanks for the question. So the stat obviously, Allie talked about this a little bit earlier, 468,350 in documented compensation increases in 2023. So that was calculated in a couple of different ways. So our data analyst was either able to document the difference between your 2022 profile and your 2023 profile, or there was a negotiated compensation increase that was shared with me that I was able to track. So also mentioned that there were 65 new completions in 2023 that we did not have in 2022. So there's a lot of people out there for whom we were not able to get a baseline to document a compensation increase. So I feel like we did have a more significant impact than this in 2023. We just can't document that. But I hope that that will show in 2024. Obviously, Grant mentioned that there are a lot of different ways that the PGA funds the section, and a part of that is through participation in the national programs that we offer. Some of that's PGA Junior League and player engagement participation, and some of that comes through participation in national initiatives like the compensation profile. So just want to reiterate to everybody that is an annual ask. So if you did it in 2023, it's not just a checkbox and then done, right? It's something that we need to continue to do every year so that we can continue to make successful negotiations possible for all of our members. So if you did it in 2023, and I would guess most everybody in the room did, because we had 195 participants in the program in 2023. So please make sure that you continue to do that in 2024, making sure that you update your profile by the end of the year so that we can give everybody the best data. Go forward a little bit, Thomas. One of the things is peer compensation. So, I shared with everybody who participated in the profile in 2023 what our section averages were. And that's very impactful information. For sure, it's better than no information, but it also does not necessarily tell the whole story, right? If you're, so looking more broadly too at what we call peer-to-peer clubs. So comparing not just in the St. Louis area, but throughout the Midwest, and that's where we're able to go a little bit deeper when you create a custom ask through me and through our department. Is we're able to pull, it would probably exclude Chicago from the market because of cost of living differences, but we're able to find similar clubs that do the same in terms of number of total revenue, number of members, member annual due spend, those types of things. Look at St. Louis, Kansas City, Omaha, Des Moines, Tulsa, Memphis, some other markets that are similar size, Indianapolis, and really give you a deeper dive into club-to-club comparisons so that you can see, if you're trying to attract talent from out of the area too, what is it that you have to be competitive with? So that can help you make a much more apples-to-apples comparison and give you better feedback with which to go to your board or to your strategic decision makers and present a valid case for continued increases or an additional staff member or whatever that is. We can help you with those things as well. What else? Anybody have anything? Anything that's not on the board you want to ask about? Can't guarantee we know the answer, but we'll point you in the right direction. Anna? Really good question. So interviewing timeline. I'd say a lot of it's case by case. So, there's a couple of different examples, when we're involved in the search process, that helps because I can set the timeline and I handle the communications and take that off of the club leadership or the club management. So that helps kind of streamline the process. So a lot of times, they're just kind of doing it as a board, especially if it's a management level hire, and they're kind of trying to work it in among this and that and everybody's schedules. And so it gets to be this kind of really protracted experience, and it's really hard for them to communicate with the candidates in a timely manner. So And that's one of the things that we talk with employers about, right? Is there's an expectation from the candidates that it is going to be a timely process, and also the expectation that you have to assume that every candidate, if they're in your search, if they're applying for your position, that they're also applying for others. And so sometimes it really is true that the early bird does get the worm. So, if you're the most responsive prospective employer and you interview the candidates and you make a decision earlier, that also affects everybody else's pool. So yeah, it's very unique. It's a case by case basis. Certainly, we have some best practices that we would advise them on. If the club committees reach out, we can certainly help them through that process.
I'm going to take a step further real quick too and ask, what's the difference in interview structures for associates and head pros and director of golfs and GMs, and what that might look like?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. The difference in interviewing to become an entry level associate and to become a head professional it's a world of difference. If you want to become an entry level associate at this point, right, there's kind of a minimum baseline of things that you have to show. You have to, right, you've got to have a passion for golf, and you have to have a zest for learning the business. When you need to go from that entry level position to a management position, you have to be able to show that you have some command of the financials, understand how that impacts the business, also that you're able to lead and manage a staff, to hire and train. It's a whole different world. And the big thing I would say is that, and the same thing again, if you want to go from director of golf or head golf professional into general manager, you have to be really, really solid, and you have to show that you have understanding of the core areas of the club operation that aren't necessarily your core competencies. So if you're going to be a general manager, you have to show that you have some understanding of food and beverage, or a plan for how you're going to get that understanding. You have to show that you have some understanding of agronomy. You have to show that you have some understanding of aquatics or racket sports or fitness or whatever else is offered. So, and if you don't have that direct experience, how will you get that? How will you rely on the team? So the big thing I would say, though, is that interviews, they're not easy, and they take practice. So there's not a single one of us in here as a golf instructor who would entertain a brand new student on our lesson tee this afternoon and say, all right, tournament's Monday morning. We'll see you there. So, you have to practice them, and it's really hard to replicate the pressure of an interview, but it is possible to try and get as close as you possibly can. So, and you have to practice, just like we tell people to practice their golf skills in the same way that they would perform them in a tournament, which is actually on the golf course, right? We have to get out and off of the driving range and onto the course to be able to be prepared. You have to do these things in the context in which you're going to do them. So typically you're going to start with a phone interview, and that takes practice. So you have to be prepared. Those are easier to practice than in-person interviews to replicate that kind of pressure. Two-way video, right? That's always going to be a part of the process going forward, unless you don't have any candidates from out of the area. So again, you have to be practiced and prepared for that. And then in person. So, one of the things that we can do is there's all kinds of ways that you can prepare for that. But reach out to me. Let's set up a mock interview. Let's set up a 10-minute phone interview, and I'll send you a few questions. Preparing in advance is just really key. Doing your research, being prepared, practicing a little bit. And if you're not familiar, LinkedIn has a really cool kind of like AI interview prep. So you can go in, it'll ask you some of the common softball questions, if you will, some of the things that will ascertain your management, your leadership style, etc., that might be common among all industries. And you can record a video of yourself answering that question. And LinkedIn will help you suggest some ways to improve your answer. And you can send your video to me. If you want to record something like that, send your video to me, and I'll help you using my industry experience. I'll help you kind of craft your answer and give you some feedback on how you can improve your presentation. So I would just say practice, 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 and preparation. If you prepare just a little bit, you're going to be prepared beyond the measure that most candidates are. So, Allie? Oh, 1 minute. Okay. Anybody else? Daryl? Good question. I would say I'm positively encouraged in the last few years. And I think that has really, our club boards are hearing the message, the decision makers are hearing the message, and I think it is really improving. And I said earlier, can I use the analogy, right? We can't drive our cars all day, every day from April 1st to the end of October without stopping and taking them to the gas station and getting an oil change, right? And we have to realize that our people are the same, right? We've got to rest and recharge. And it's been a tough road. Our activity level has picked up. People are playing more golf than ever, so they're coming to your golf shops more than ever, and that's a lot of interactions, with people that we didn't used to have. So it's hard for you to catch that downtime when you're in the office, but being cognizant of those things, you can see like the facts that they're like 66% of full-time employees believe they lack work-life balance. So we're not alone. I would say that too. It's not just the golf industry, and it's not just hospitality. If you just Google work-life balance, it's every industry. Obviously, we can know the big ones like first responders, healthcare, accounting. I mean, everybody's been asked to do more with less kind of since COVID, if you will. So it's not just a golf industry issue. There are a few things that probably make ours a little bit more challenging maybe than some traditional industries. But being cognizant, I think, is just the thing, right? Asking, when you start to get a little bit of pushback from the boards or or the stakeholders in your organization, right? Is that what they would do? Would they sign up for a job like that? No weekends, no holidays, no days off, right? I mean, all of those things have to go hand in hand. We just have to have consistent communication as a message. And I feel like we're getting that not only from just the PGA, but we're also getting that from our industry allies at CMAA and GCSAA and the other stakeholders in our business as well.
Yeah, I thought you did a really good job answering. I just would follow up and just kind of, reiterate that when you come to the table with facts, whenever you get pushback on that, and say, hey, here's the data, right? It's a whole lot harder to hear a counter argument because it's literally staring right there in front of you, right? And so, but I think, flipping the tables like Jackie was talking about and presenting data in a professional and very nonchalant kind of attitude, right? I think about it. I think the conversation is definitely willing to be had. I think the jobs that are out there right now are starting to recognize that. I've noticed a lot of really good associate positions out there that specifically touch on work-life balance. So while we may not be seeing it as a industry whole yet, right, where it's the standard, it's definitely trending that direction. I'm heavily encouraged by it.
Yeah, I think it's changing. I think it's changing for the better. Anybody else? Yeah, you probably can't see that. That was on the results of the survey. You said the slide with the bar graph? Okay, that one. Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. And we can send the deck out to everyone later on if you'd like to have that for yourselves.
I just want to say thanks, everybody. We really appreciate your time. Really good questions. Thanks for your interaction.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yep. Good.
It's time for the get the Oh, hey. Hey, dude. Oh, hey. So, things that's already did.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was at the meeting over there.
Eating restaurant and still had been.
Yeah, everybody's got plenty of time. We're good. Just trying to corral folks back in. What's that? Okay.
You couldn't come out here.
I really like. It'd be awesome if he was the only one.
Get the pitch up that missed out. Did that. No. Try to step in. I trust about the graceful way of law. You're still. Get to my side. Can I? Special. So, I agree. I'm sorry that way. I'm not.
Okay, everyone. Welcome back. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking our presenters, especially our Assistants Association guys. I thought they did I was in the second meeting there. I thought those young men did a really nice job of speaking on behalf of the Assistants Association. It's tough to stand up and speak publicly. For some of those guys, it may have been for the first time. I don't know that, but either way, congratulations. Really good work. It was inspiring to me because I could kind of see some future leaders up there of our association. So really cool. Glad you guys did that, and thanks for everybody else for attending. And we need to get in behind the Assistants Association, support that. That's the future. That's the lifeblood. So next up, I want to introduce one of our supporting sponsors who's not only sponsors this spring meeting, but has been a friend to the Gateway section for quite a while now. Dave Reed is the founder of Fairways to Heaven Golf Travel Company. For any of you that are considering taking members abroad, and probably does some stuff nationally here as well. He'll speak more to that, but I know his abroad trips are huge, and he's going to kind of touch on that. But anyway, I want to thank Dave for sponsoring today's meeting and the relationship over the last few years. So at this time, Dave, if you'd come up, please. Dave Reed.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here again, and I'm very excited that we've re-upped our sponsorship for this year, and it's been a great pleasure working with Allie, Michael, and Tom. They've been great to work with, and all of you as well. Really excited about the section and excited about the opportunities that we have as your preferred golf travel provider and sponsor. So thank you for that. Jumping right in, I thought what I would do today is just give a quick refresher. In past meetings, I threw a video up and tried to get you excited about links golf, but I think you're going to have links golf out here today, so you'll be fine. But just a quick refresh on Fairways to Heaven. Been around since 1996. It was not founded by me. I did acquire the business in 2017. Love the name. Kept the business running. We've had a wonderful run of success since 2017 with the slight little blip there for COVID. But it's been a great little business for us. We currently sponsor 8 PGA sections, so Gateway is one of 8. We find that this model works really well for us and for the members within those sections, specifically around getting access to the members of your club. So you get to travel, but they also get to travel, and there's a great synergy there. It's worked out well for us to get the discretionary income earners to buy the trips from us. So that's worked out. One of the big things that happened this year, which was really exciting for me, one of the holes we had in our offering was the ability to get enough guaranteed old course tee times. I mean, everybody in here wants to go play the old course. If you've never been to Scotland, the first course everybody asks about is the old course. How do I get on the old course? And certainly the RNA and the Links Trust have not made that an easy proposition to get on the old course. If you don't have a provider like us who's an authorized provider of old course guaranteed tee times, your only other options are to do the general ballot consumer ballot in August and hope for the best the following year, or do a 48-hour ballot when you're on property and hope for the best, or stand in line at 3 in the morning and try and get an open tee time the next morning. So it's not an easy golf course to get on. It's an exciting golf course to play. What we decided, since we only were getting somewhere between 8 and 12 tee times a year from the Links Trust, that was a big hole in our offering, particularly for big sections that have members that want to take members to play golf. So we acquired another golf tour operator in February of this year named Morton Golf Holidays. Morton Golf is a Scottish-based tour operator. They're located in Edinburgh. They've been also around for 30 plus years, and the CEO and proprietor there ended up selling the business to us, which gave us an additional 25 tee times. So now we're close to 40 tee times, which is 160 golfers. So we have a much better opportunity to get people out in 4 balls, 8 balls, and 12 balls on those courses around St. Andrews and on the old course of St. Andrews. So we're very excited about that. Unfortunately, what I'll say is 2025 is already sold out. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but we've already sold out 2025, but 2026 is wide open for the old course, so we certainly can discuss those types of things for you. I mean, it's amazing how quick people will put money down to ensure that they get on the old course at St. Andrews. But we're very excited about that. It was a great acquisition. I don't know if you saw the press release, but very exciting for us in that regard. Okay, on the next slide. So I just want to talk a little bit about growth in travel. I mean, everybody, you're seeing it in your own shops and how much golf is booming. Same thing's happening in the travel space. It's really been just unbelievable since COVID. I can't tell you, my phone's ringing off the hook. But the negative to that is now instead of taking 6 months lead time to book a trip to go over into the hot spots of England, Ireland, or Scotland, it's now lead time of at least 12 months, and in most cases you even have to go more, 15, 18 months in advance. And it's difficult. It's difficult to get your members to put money up 15 months before they're going to go on a trip. But if you don't do that, you're not going to get the tee times at sociable times, i.e. between 9 and 3. You might get a 7 a.m. or you might get a 4 p.m., but you want to get the sociable tee times, and you want to be able to get on the courses that are important to you. And with all this big travel, these courses are opening their tee sheets up early, and they're selling these tee times out early. We don't buy inventory in advance, so we typically will book trips when we get commitments, except for the old course. We do buy those tee times in advance, and we do buy a couple others like Royal County Down and Portrush and Muirfield, I think, are the others that we buy in advance. But other than those golf courses, we won't buy inventory. We'll wait till we get a commitment from a group to go, and then we'll go out and book those trips on behalf of those travelers. So it's really crazy, and it's exciting for me because it's 15 months out, but it's difficult as well. And I think I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Now that's not true everywhere. It's true in the big areas, and I'll go through the different regions and explain that to you in a little bit. The other thing that's really happened is there's been a huge investment in golf. So a lot of these clubs overseas and domestically are investing big time into their clubs. They're getting a lot more. They're doing a lot more to make the club a better experience. The airlines are starting to send more trips over, so there's a bigger uplift in all the airlines going into England, Ireland, Scotland. So Dublin, Shannon, Glasgow, Edinburgh, England, Manchester, all those are really getting a big uplift, which is great. And they're improving all the accommodations. I mean, the accommodations in all these locations are becoming from what used to be 2 and 3 star kind of rundown little places to now 4 or 5 star hotels and accommodations with spas. So there's been a big influx and a big investment in golf as well. So how do we help you and your members? I mean, really, my goal here is to be a service concierge to you and to your members. I can't be to your members without going through you, which is great. But I want to make sure you have somebody that will take all the heavy lifting away from you, and I'll take it on, and we'll put together the custom trip that you and or your members want. If you want to travel with us, it's fantastic. You can decide where you want to go, and then you can add 8 members to go with you, or 7 members to go with you, or 11 members to go with you, or whatever the case may be. But it gives you the opportunity to work with us to help customize a trip. What I don't like to do is say, here's an off-the-shelf trip. You got to just go on this trip. That's not the way we work. We really want to work with you to decide, how many trips are you going to go? I mean, how many golf courses do you want to play? What region do you want to play? What time of year do you want to be there? How many people are going to go with you? What kind of accommodations do you want? Do you want a day off in between? All of those types of things. So we want to make it simple. Keep it simple, make it easy for you and for your members. As an incentive to you, if you're going to help me, we're going to help you. We'll cover your trip and your airfare for any trip. We have 7 or more people. If you can't go because you have a new baby coming or you have, other commitments at home, but your members want to travel, we'll pay a commission on any trip that goes out of your club that you refer to me. So certainly there's a cash incentive there as well, and we'd love to work with you on that. What types of trips do we do? It used to be the old guys trip, 7, 8 guys go on a trip, go have fun. We still do that. That's our bread and butter. 8 to 12 is the number that most all of you go on. There are some that go as high as 16. There's some that go as high as 20. As you get to the larger groups, some of the after golf activities become a little bit of a challenge, but we still do it, and a lot of people love to do that. But that bread and butter guys trip has always been the one that we've built our business around. Lately, we're seeing an awful lot of couples trips, okay, where, husband and wives are going. They're going with 4 or 5 other couples. The wives don't want to play 6 days in a row, so they'll play 3 rounds of golf. The guys will play 6. While they're playing, the wives will go do some sightseeing in the various places that we go. So couples trips are another great way to get your members to travel. A lot of guys can't go unless they bring their wives, so that's great, so you do it that way. So, but that's awesome as well. Then we do just ladies trips. That's something that hasn't been a big seller for us in years past, but it's gotten tremendous traction this year. We're getting, and last year, we're getting a lot of trips of just ladies going over and playing golf and working with us to design those trips. The other thing would just be family travel. So you go with your family, bring your son, bring your daughter, bring your father, those types of trips. So we cover all types, and certainly open to any type of trip that you're interested in. Okay, so how do we work? And this is a tough slide to read. I think maybe they'll send the slides around, but really the only thing I really wanted to talk to here is what I've already touched on. We're a custom tour operator. We want to make these trips good for you and for your members. We're going to ask you some very specific questions. Where do you want to go? What time of year do you want to go? How many golfers? How many nights? Those types of questions. And we'll build an itinerary that is a draft that you can use and look at with the group that you want to go to, and we'll continue to modify it and enhance it, until it gets to the point where you're happy. And then we'll send that off. We provide a secure link website basically for you and your members, where the members can go in. They can actually register and pay through this website. It's a merchant processing website that allows for bank transfers, secure bank transfers, and credit cards. So it's very simple to use. It's easy. It gives you a detailed list of all the itineraries and all the activity that's in it. And it's really been a nice feature for us. What else? So and then it just comes down to the experience. So how do we make sure that your experience is good? So we have, with the acquisition in Scotland, we've got people on the ground that are there 24/7. So they'll be your on-the-ground concierge. They'll meet you at the airport. They'll give you their business card. They'll give you a phone number if anything is needed throughout the trip. They're on the same time zone as you. It works out very well. We do the same thing in Ireland. We have on-the-ground concierge, meet you at the airport, same kind of thing. So the experience is really what makes it. If your people come home and they weren't happy, that's a bad reflection on me. So we really want to make sure that when they come back, they're bragging about they played Old Head and they played Waterville and they played Hogshead and all these great courses in Ireland, so that the next group will go out and have just as good a time. So that's real important to us as well. If we look at just some of the different regions, I'll go through this quickly, but I wanted to touch on, the international regions, the ones that we hit the most, which are England, Ireland, and Scotland. And in Ireland, there's really four primary sections. There's a Dublin section where there's some great golf in Dublin. You get city life, short time on coaches. It's very simple back and forth. Those courses include County Louth and Portmarnock Hotel and Royal Dublin, the European Club, all the names that you've probably heard of. we also pair that trip with, 3 courses around Dublin. Then we go north up to Northern Ireland, and we'll play Royal County Down, which everybody wants to play. We'll play Royal Portrush, where the Open is next year, Ardglass, Port Stewart, Castle Rock. So those are all great golf courses, and they're only a 2-hour drive. Once you get up there, then you're close again. So that trip there is very economical. It's less time on a coach. It's a fun trip. The only expense to that trip is really when you get up north, because County Down and Portrush tend to jack their prices up quite a bit. So that's one section. Then the other section is the Southwest, which everybody knows. Your 6 trophy courses in the Southwest: Old Head, Waterville, Tralee, Ballybunion, Lahinch, and Doonbeg. Everybody wants to go there. They're great. And it is. It's a fantastic trip. Best links golf in the world. I think best after golf experience that you can have is Irish and the Irish welcoming people. But that's the one where it sells out really fast, and they just raised the prices. I mean, they just raised everything. It's got to stop at some point, but they just continue to raise the prices, which is ridiculous. But it's a great trip, and that's one that you have to book early. You have to book 15 months in advance. And then to me, the hidden gem, the jewel of Ireland right now that nobody pays a lot of attention to, is what I call the Northwest, and that's Enniscrone, Carn, and Sligo, which is fantastic. And then you work your way up into Rosapenna, which has 3 great courses, and Ballyliffin, which has 2 great courses. These courses are as good as any of the other links courses in Ireland, and they're about half the price. And they don't sell out. For whatever reason, people just they haven't figured it out yet. I think if you played down south and then you went up north, you'd say, GC, they're equally as good. They just don't have the name and the pizzazz that the Southwest has. So that's Ireland. You get to Scotland. I've already talked about St. Andrews. St. Andrews is where everybody wants to go. Just outside of St. Andrews is East Lothian, where Muirfield is, and North Berwick and the Renaissance Club. Those are great golf courses. I prefer the Highlands. I think the Highlands are great with Royal Aberdeen, Cruden Bay, Nairn. You've got Cabot Highlands, which used to be the Castle Stewart, and then you've got the gem up on the top at Royal Dornoch. Really, really great golf. And then this year, Troon's hosting the Open. So on the west coast of Scotland, you've got Troon, Turnberry, Western Gales, Prestwick, and Dundonald, which are all wonderful golf courses as well. And the thing you can do with the west coast, which some of one of your members is doing, I'll talk about that in a minute, is you can do what we call the Royals trip, and you can play Turnberry, Troon, and Prestwick up north, and then shoot straight down the coast to England, which is the next slide. And in England, you get Royal Birkdale, Royal Liverpool, and Royal Lytton. So you're basically playing 6 open venues. Turnberry's kind of on hold while Mr. Trump's there, but six what used to be 6 open venues and the original one at Prestwick, or you can play Western Gales or Dundonald. So that's a really cool trip with one travel day. It's about a 4-hour travel day, but it's a wonderful trip. So that gets you into England, and that area down there, you can just go there direct and stay there. No trip is more than 35 minutes from your hotel. You can play the 3 Royals that I just mentioned, and then you've got Hillside and Formby and West Lancashire and Southport. It's a really cool area. Real cool. You get the city of Liverpool and Manchester. You get the village of Southport. Wonderful experience for everybody that goes there. And then in England, what I'm seeing a lot more of, believe it or not, is couples wanting to go to London. So they go play in London or go visit London, but then they want to play. So they get Sunningdale, Old and New. They get Walton Heath. They get St. George's Hill, and then you can go down into Sandwich and get Royal St. George, Princes and Port Saint, which are just fantastic publics. So England is an up and comer, and it's also more available, and it's also more cost effective. So that's the 3 primary big regions that we go to. I talked about big groups. We're happy to do big groups. We've done groups like this of more than 40 people. Had a big event around it, and it worked out very well. Some other off-the-course golf that we do is whiskey tasting. We do skeet shooting, clay pigeon shooting, which is always fun for the guys. We can do fly fishing or any type of fishing that you might like to do as an off-day kind of activity. Go visit some distilleries. I mean, when you're in Scotland, there's nothing better than a Scottish distillery. And to be candid, I think the Irish whiskey is better than the Scottish whiskey. So there's a lot going on in Ireland as well. All of our trips are in luxury coaches. So we'll put you not in cars or vans. We want to put you in luxury coaches so that you're comfortable, you can spread out, you can play cards. One of the downsides of links golf is you got to travel to the golf courses, and they're out on the coast, so you're going inland to go outland. It just takes some time, so that's why we have to do that. And then if you're really up for it and you want to have a little more expense, you can do helicopters and private air transfers, which I think are great, and they're really fun, but they're not cost effective, to say the least. And then the other areas that we focus on, which I haven't really talked about. So those are my bread and butter, the three you talked about. But we're also sending a lot of people into Spain and Portugal. Typically, it's an April, May, or a September, October, November trip. But Portugal is booming. Lisbon's a wonderful city. Valderrama and Malaga up there, where they had the Solheim Cup, is I get the name of it. But there's some great courses up in Spain, so you can combine Spain and Portugal and have a really fun trip. I'm having the pleasure of going on a trip to New Zealand, Australia in February 25. I've never been. We're going down. We're going to start in Melbourne, play the three best in Melbourne, go over to Tasmania and play Barndougal, and then go over to New Zealand and get to play Quarry Cliffs and Terra Iti and Cape Kidnapper. So just some really fun golf. And then the other one that we've just had 3 trips go out this past year is South Africa, if you can believe that. So South Africa is a wonderful, I call it a holiday with golf, because you get a safari, you get wine, and you get golf, which is a real nice treat. And the golf out there is great. A lot of Ernie Els and Gary Player type golf. So it's really good. And then we do domestic. Domestic's not one that I spend a lot of time on, to be fair, because you can make a phone call like I can make a phone call. I'm happy to do it for you if you want me to. But Pebble Beach, Bannon Dunes, Whistling Straits, Stream Song, Kiowa, Pinehurst, the Cabot Cliffs and Links up in Nova Scotia. So those are all courses and locations that we're happy to help with. But it's not an area that we spend a lot of time on. It is good for your members because they can't go overseas every year. So maybe they do a domestic trip one year and an overseas trip the next, and we're happy to work with you on those types of things. So I guess, with that, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm here through Wednesday. I know I've met with a bunch of you last year when I was here. If there is availability in any of your schedules, not today, obviously, if you're on the course, but anytime tomorrow or anytime Wednesday, I'd be happy to drive over to the club and spend, have a cup of coffee, spend 10, 15 minutes with you and talk about something that you might like to do or a trip that you might like to have. I really appreciate that. You can either reach out to me or to Michael Brown, and happy to help you with that. I'd like to give a special thanks to 4 clubs that from last year's trip have actually booked with me. So Jimmy Balls from Forest Hills has taken 8 guys to the Royals trip, and they're doing that in August, and they're going to be doing the Turnberry Troon and Western Gales, and then coming down and playing to Birkdale, Liverpool with them. So that's an exciting trip. Kyle Williams from Old Hickory is taking 8 guys to southwest of Ireland in September. He's got the trophy courses, so great lineup of 6 courses, which is wonderful. Steve Hausman is taking a group of guys to Scotland this year, which is excellent. We're really excited about that group, and he's also going to start the group in Ireland before he goes over. So that's been good. And then Kurt Goss recently committed to a 2026 trip. So there's a good example of someone that's thinking ahead. He's booked to 2026. I'm getting deposits in for that. He's going to get the courses he wants and the times he wants, and so St. Albans is going to be going over there, and we're looking forward to hosting them as well. So that's all I have. Might have overtaken my time, but I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. I've been fortunate to play a few of those courses, and it is spectacular. At this time, we're going to move into our Q&A with our guest, 43rd President of PGA of America, John Lindert, Barry Howard from our District 7 Director, wherever you'd like to sit, and me. So at this time.
Anyway, not so good anyway. All right. Let's do that. But we'll give up. Yeah, Kelly. But you did.
Great. Okay. First of all, thank you to those who submitted questions. When we sent out a note a couple of times asking the members to think about if there's topics you'd like discussed or questions you have that you'd like answered at some point during this panel. We had quite a bit. I have a couple of notes of questions here. We have 30 minutes. We'll get to as many as we can. But we're going to start with some of the most popular questions, and we'll start with a couple that we already have submitted. Then I really want to encourage everyone, if you have questions, please don't be shy from the floor. That's the hope too, is that we can, get some interaction. And if one question asked prompts another idea in your head, please feel free. So we'll start with a couple for the panelists. And panelists, a couple of these might be directed at one person in particular, but feel free to add on if you'd like. So we'll start with the first question with John. And we had there's a lot of activity. This is a hot topic right now. We get a lot of individuals asking a variation of this type of question. So let's start with what's going on right now between PIF and LIV and the potential impacts that may have on the PGA of America and its members.
That's for Grant, right? Yeah, okay. That was for Grant, right?
Grant.
Yeah, perfect. First and foremost, it's great being here at the Gateway section. You've got a lot going on. You've got a lot of positivity. John DePriest is your national award winner. Nathan Carnes is your first national officer. That says a lot about the section. You've got a great executive director. You've got a district director who represents you extremely well and is also running for national office. So a lot of positives going on in this region, and it's all because of you. So you should be proud of it. The question was what? Never mind, I got it. So as the president of the association, you sit on the PGA Tour Policy Board. All the discussions with PIF and SSG, those have been kind of ongoing. The harsh reality is June 6th and June 5th changed the demographics in the world golf. I got blocked with phone emails, text messages. June 5th, I was at Baltusrol getting ready to do KPMG Women's PGA Championship Media Day, and I got a call from my administrative assistant from the PGA of America who said they're canceling Media Day, and Baltusrol has a super spreader. They want you to evacuate the clubhouse, and they want to disinfect the clubhouse. I told Gina, leave in the clubhouse. I will lock my door, I will go to bed, and I will leave in the morning, but can you get me on an earlier flight? I was scheduled to fly out at 9:30 at night after the media day, and I ended up flying out at 9:57 in the morning. I keep those numbers very readily in my head because it all starts to make sense. I try to follow FAA regulations as best I can, so when they close the cabin doors, I try to turn off my phone. 9:57 happens, cabin doors haven't closed yet, so I'm still on my phone. 10 o'clock, cabin doors begin to close. I begin to turn off my phone, and all of a sudden, beep, beep, beep. Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Turn off my phone. No internet for the next hour and a half. Land in Detroit to without text messages and emails and voice messages about what did you just do? You had to know the deal that was just announced on CNBC at 10 o'clock. And I said, I don't really know what you're talking about. And they said, well, you sit on the policy board. I said, yes, I do. And they said, you didn't know. And I said, I did not know. So you had two individuals that were part of the policy board along with the commissioner that had decided to make this arrangement. It was the framework agreement. And basically the genesis behind it was to try to stop the lawsuits that was just sucking money out of both entities, and the tour could not keep up with it. But the reality is that this infusion of money into the PGA Tour is something that they were losing money because they were trying to create elevated purses. So they amped up some of their regular tour events to $20 million. They amped up the players to $25 million. That was not sustainable for the tour without some funding some way, somehow. Thus, the initial reach out, Yasser wants a seat at the table. He wants to be included in the game of golf. He wants a membership at Augusta National, and he's got resources. The tour couldn't fight it, so they decided that at some point it's better to join them than get beat by them. And they didn't really outsource to anybody else. If you read the newspapers, there's now an agreement with SSG, which is Strategic Sports Group, mainly funded through Fenway Sports Group. John Henry is the money behind it. Sam Kennedy is the CEO of Fenway Sports Group, and they entered into the agreement for $1.5 billion. That gives the tour some access. Players now become equity holders in the tour. But what that really does is it allows the tour to continue with their elevated purses.
And what that does for all of us is there's some endangerment in that. When you talk to Kerry Haig, who's our chief championship officer, he says he goes to bed every night worrying about whether the PGA Championship is going to continue to be a major. And while we can all sit here and laugh about it, I played college golf at the University of Arizona, which was part of the Pac-12, which no longer exists. So when you think about that, can we automatically assume that the PGA Championship will always be a major? And the answer to that is maybe not. I took office, the PGA Championship was the third highest paying professional tournament on all tours across the globe. Today it's 29th. How long is it going to take for players to go to the money and look at it that if somebody runs a $30 million purse versus our $17.5 million purse, decide to play in something else? So those are the challenges that our board is looking into. I appointed a strategic committee to get those challenges, what's coming down the pipe according to, will the tour come at us? Will the tour want to buy our assets? Are we at risk for the PGA Championship losing its status as a major? I don't think so. I want to think that the players have integrity and they want legacy over money. But the reality is that money conversation is out there. You don't have to look very far to see the quote of John Rahm saying $400 million is not going to make a difference in my life. I'm not going to live. Fast forward 6 months, John Rahm took $400 million and is now playing on live. So it's been a very, very challenging time. If you heard, Monday after the players, the 6 player directors from the PGA Tour Policy Board went to Bermuda and met with Yasser. I think that was more of a dating situation than a conversation about, whether or not they had interest. There were some players that are just dead set against it, and some players that look at it as another opportunity. So there's really a lot more to come with that. I had a meeting with John Henry, who, as I said, is the billionaire behind Fenway Sports Group and behind SSG at the players, and I got to have some discussion with Sam Kennedy. They are not golfers. They don't understand the game. Our conversation was more really very high level. What's going on with the tour? What's going on with the PGA of America? Tell us a little bit about the game, because they're in different realms. I think they own Manchester United. They own the Red Sox. They own the Pittsburgh Penguins. So they're in different sports. They're not really in golf. It's going to be a very interesting next 6 months, regardless of what happens. If there is some type of a high-level negotiation with PIF, the Department of Justice is going to have something to say about that. And the finalization of that, they can make an agreement, they can have a handshake agreement, but the final approval, if that were to go down, would not probably happen for another 18 months to 2 years, because the DOJ is going to get involved in it. So I hope that kind of from a very high level, from what I can share, answers that question.
Thanks, John. Switching gears, this question is targeted for you, Barry. If roughly 50% of the workforce are baby boomers, then how does the PGA plan to stay ahead of the potential shortage of professionals to fill these positions in 10 or so years?
Thank you. Is it working? Yes. Thank you. That's a good question. And that is true. I think that 11,000 of our members will be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's a big number. And we don't have right now the associates to fill those spots that people are going to retire. And our assistants now are going to be taking our places. And who's going to take the assistants' places? And I've been preaching kind of in the boardroom the last couple of years as a different pathway to becoming a PGA professional. And I truly believe in this. And actually, most of y'all probably weren't at the national meeting, but President Lindard actually showed a video of a university now that is giving college credits for work experience. And to me, that's kind of the route I feel like we need to go to retain, because our education now is not really retaining all our associates. And I think it was in 2012 that we decided that we had too many guy professionals and we needed to make it harder. And I'm just going to say we might have gone a little too far with that. But anyway, as far as the retention and the work experience pathway that I've been speaking about, there's a lot of people that don't learn the same way with our college, with what we're doing with our education, and I just feel like they need to learn on the job, very similar to our business schools back in the 80s. And I feel like that's the way we need to approach getting and retaining our associates. We can't keep doing what we're doing because it's not working. And so I just feel like we need to work on a different pathway, and a work experience pathway is the one I've been preaching about for the last 2 years.
So I'll just piggyback on that. And I said this when I ran. I find it really interesting. So we are an employment-based association that requires education to get in, but not education to stay in. If you look at other associations, if you look at the medical association, if you look at the bar association, neither one of those associations require employment. They require 100% education. So whatever the right answer is, I just find there's some irony there that we're an employment-based association that gives no credence to employment. And that's one of the things that before I'm done, I'd love to see reviewed and reviewed and reviewed. And what I mean by that is education to me has three forms. It's either to get you a job, advance you in a job, or for self-improvement. Those are the three reasons why you get educated. That's really about it. You've already got a job and you've advanced in a job, and some employer finds that you are valuable, that you have a skill set that they want. Why do we tell that person that you don't know anything and you have to go back to kindergarten to learn what 1 + 1 is? And I've had this argument with the previous chair of the education committee for years. I asked him, do you care where you learned 1 + 1, or do you care that you know what 1 + 1 is? And he said, I care where you learned it. And I said, I don't. I just want you to know it. And so you can go through and you can look at a litany of individuals that's low-hanging fruit that could become PGA members. The fear factor of somebody working as a golf coach coming over and taking your job as a head golf professional is slim to none. Give employers more credit than that. They know the resume doesn't speak to the job. But we have people in the industry who are entrenched in the industry. We have some great instructors and teachers that are entrenched in the industry that aren't PGA members because they know more than what we teach. And they go, what's the value in me going to PGA education when I already know it and I know more than it? We talked earlier today about, some of the off-course places. Joe Assell is looking for PGA members, but he's got a whole shoot of individuals who are currently teaching, have gotten into golf tech, can't afford the time, can't afford the money to go and do something else, to go through the education process. And by the way, they already know more than what we're teaching, who will not become PGA members because it's a waste of their time. There are 41 EDs across the country, and my quick story is when I was president of Michigan, Kevin Helm to become a PGA member. He played golf at Bowling Green. I said, Kevin, there's no reason why you're not a PGA member. He said, yes, there is. I said, what's that? He said, it's a waste of my time. He said, it doesn't benefit the members that I serve. I know everything I need to know to do my job. How does going back to level one and learning about how to regrip a golf club help me in my job? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. And so we have an opportunity to look at it, that we are an employment-based association that can give credit for employment. And that's really what I think what we're both kind of saying.
Grant, this follow-up question is for you. In your view, what would you suggest a young golf professional getting into the business to focus on to become a better candidate for when these potential jobs open in 10 years? But also, I think as we heard some of the conversation, a lot of questions around the PGA Member Services breakout. How do you prepare yourself for that next step next year?
Well, I guess my first instinct on that, my first thought is kind of what Barry touched on from the start. There's so many really good opportunities coming down the pipeline here. If you happen to be a young person that's driven, the opportunities there are already some really good opportunities at the moment. Like we've already seen some good opportunities here in this town over the last year or two. But it's going to pick up even more speed, even more momentum. There's going to be even more places for people to make really nice livings and do a job that they enjoy and they look forward to waking up to do every day. I certainly feel that way personally. Feel very lucky and very blessed. Love what I do. But I know that there's going to be tons of openings of jobs like mine. I would also say that for those who really like to teach, the amount of opportunities there are for instruction is growing so fast, like was discussed in these breakout sessions today. The number of different places to do your instruction is growing so fast, and so we need more people in those roles. And what a better time to be a young person getting into our business. So.
Questions from the audience?
Ellie, can I try? There was a question earlier during one of the breakouts about deferred comp and whether or not PGA was going to review that. And I just kind of wanted to chime in on that just for a brief moment. When Susie Whaley was president and Jim Richardson was vice president and I was secretary, we went to our legal department and we asked them to go to the IRS with a litany of questions of what would qualify for deferred comp points and what would not. And we came back, the legal came back and said, well, we can't ask this and we can't ask that. And we said, we need to ask that. So a couple of things that we asked about is, could this meeting attendance be included? Could playing in tournaments be included? Could giving lessons be included? And we got no, 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 and no from the IRS. The process with the IRS is a daunting one. That's why it's taken over 100 years to get deferred comp through the finish line. And so there could be some opportunity for programs that fit that growth of the game initiative. In Michigan, we've got a program called Midnight Golf that is actually run by a non-PGA member, but PGA members instruct, that could qualify in that to gain points. But really, the IRS is not going to sit there and review what we've done. And then if we were to submit, does this qualify or this qualify or this qualify, they won't give us an instantaneous answer. I should have asked this before. Is anybody in here with the IRS? Okay, good. My bad. No, so it actually is something where there is a process behind it. We will continue to press forward with it and ask the questions and see what else we can get over the finish line, if you will. But it is somewhat daunting to get anything past the IRS, and that's why we're glad what we got is what we got.
Brett?
Yeah, so, here's what's really interesting. PGA America owns one property, PGA Golf Club in Port St. Lucie. When we had our offices in West Palm Beach, the 100 building and the 300 building, right on the golf courses at PGA National, we had no ownership at PGA National. We had no rights. We had no access. They may have extended certain privileges at certain times, and I can speak to that because I actually worked there. And I actually got to sit in on staff meetings with Lloyd Ecclestone, who said, I don't care a damn about PGA members. Put them at the back of the line, and I want to charge rack rate in the peak season. He was there to make money and not there to give privileges to the PGA of America because we had an office space on their golf course. So when we get to voting for the new home of the PGA of America in Frisco, I was kind of on the sidelines thinking, I don't know how a building is going to be transformational. I don't know how this is going to work. And when you go to work a deal between three entities, it's much harder than if you work a deal with two. Much like taking care of one child is easier than taking care of three. There's a little bit of a fast break opportunity. Getting three to agree on anything is really kind of difficult. So Omni Hotels, Bob Rawling decided that he came to our boardroom. He said, I own 13 properties of which hotels and golf are coexist. I don't need a 14th. But I will do this if the PGA of America moves its headquarters or the home to Frisco.
he was willing, for his side of it, to put in $454 million in cash. Let that sink in for a little bit. And I mean cash. It wasn't a loan, it was cash. To help build out the infrastructure, to put an Omni Hotel on the property, to help with the completion of the golf courses. The city of Frisco had the property. It was Fields, Bob Fields, who owned the property. City of Frisco wanted to work with that. They were willing to, in the state of Texas, were willing to give tax agreements to Omni, the resort tax, all those things where you call up and you get a hotel room for $150 and it ends up being $375 when you get done. They made some concessions to what Omni could get from that. And then we had the property. So we don't own the golf courses. We help manage it, but we don't have any ownership over it. The city of Frisco, in turn, has made some agreements, as I said, about the concessions on taxes for Omni. But also, they've done something really interesting. They did a time study. They built a high school, Frisco High School 12, across the street from the home of the PGA. They built a middle school kitty corner to the home of the PGA. They have made an agreement. They did a time study that when we host a major championship there and we need to use the high school for a bus terminal, the kids go to school 5 minutes longer every day, and then they have the week of the PGA championship off. And then we use the high school as a bus terminal. So there was this collaborative effort, top to bottom. What you have to keep in mind is Omni and Bob Rowling are not golfers. Well, they're golfers, but they're not entrenched in the golf industry. So they're on a learning curve. I met with the president of Omni when I was there for the senior PGA, and he said, John, we operate hotels that have golf courses. We don't operate golf courses that have hotels. So them understanding the golf nuance is a little bit new for them. And I had the opportunity during the annual meeting to speak to some of the leadership about what I thought after I made a hole-in-one, and I may have had a beverage. So I may have gotten a little bit of liquid courage there, and I just said, you're charging PGA members too much. If you want them to be your advocates, you have to charge them a reasonable rate. This is what I believe. I said, you're new. It's a nuance. I know the hotel rooms are full, but if you want PGA members to bring people down here, you have to give them an experience of the golf course first. They're not going to walk in here blind, and you need to make it affordable for them to play. So they lowered their rate for the PPC qualifiers this year. Initially, it was a lot higher. Continually to work on it, but think of it much like a Bandon Dunes or a Pinehurst or any place else. Because we don't own the properties, because it's a for-profit entity, it's more geared on if you stay at the hotel. It's more geared on if you bring 7 members or 7 guests to play, then that's when your perks really kick in. It's not so much that if you and I went down there together, we get a smoking hot deal, because we probably wouldn't unless we're both playing in the PPC. But it's a nuance that we're working on, and we haven't stopped working on it on behalf of the PGA members.
Other questions? Dan.
Yeah.
So with the Ryder Cup, great question. With the Ryder Cup, obviously a lot of this is generated off TV royalty, the TV rights. For those of you who don't know, we own the Ryder Cup domestically. When we played in Rome, it was 60% DP World Tour, 20% Ryder Cup Europe, and 20% PGA GB&I. We still get some TV percentage off of that, but not a huge amount. Obviously, our windfall for our budget is in a domestic Ryder Cup. The fact of the matter is we provide a lot of different resources for the players. The PGA Tour receives 20% of their TV royalties to put into their coffers, which they put directly into their budget. They don't pay the players. They actually put it into their revenue source. So at some point, it helps fund the tour, which some of the players are aware or not aware. We paid for the players to go over for a practice round in Rome. We paid for the players, their spouses, their caddies, their spouses, their PT, their physio, their coach to go over to the Ryder Cup. We put them up in a hotel for a week. We give them gear. We pay the caddies a small stipend. So there's money that actually goes to the players that they would otherwise have to pay themselves. And at the end of the day, I think you have people that would pay to play in it. Keegan Bradley would have paid $1 million to qualify for the Ryder Cup. Thank goodness for people like Keegan, who's an absolute gem as far as a person goes. But, you know, once again, you get the haves and the have-nots. If you get the DP World Tour players to kind of all go towards LIV for money, and then what does that side look like? Once again, Arizona's in the Pac-12. We have 7 players for the last 2 foreign Ryder Cup teams that are now on LIV. So 7 of those, maybe combined 20 players, are now on LIV. What does that look like? I'm almost positive some go, but it's so hard to say. I mean, I don't think Rory jumped ship at all, but I think most of the players that are entrenched right now are entrenched right now. So I think there's plenty of opportunity, but we've said it for years. There's a couple things that PGA America has that the Tour does not. We have a major championship, and we have the best team competition on the planet. Take that for what it's worth. That's why the strategic committee is working on all sorts of different scenarios. What would happen if, what would happen if, what would happen if. Big thing is we have to continue to have the top 24 players in the world play in the Ryder Cup. And that'll drive television and TV and all the media. And by the way, who knows where media is going to be in 2030 and 2031 when our contracts run out. So that's another thing that we're also looking at.
So if I heard you right, are we considering getting the LIV guys in the mix for future Ryder Cups?
So the way we are, we did last year, right? Brooks played. So the other side is currently the DP World Tour. They have not permanently excluded their individuals from playing in DP World Tour events. They have, some have not resigned their membership, so they can actually play, and there are some opportunities. The thing about LIV is requiring the players to play in 14 of their events, which it's limited if you put those 14 events, 4 majors, and then you go and put the DP World Tour. There's not a lot of opportunity for them to gain points. For the Ryder Cup for Team USA, it's a point-driven. We give points at 5 events on off years. So this year, players will get points for the Players, the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the Open. Next year, they'll get points for all the tour events. It makes it really difficult for somebody on LIV to qualify unless they finish really high in those majors of the year of the Ryder Cup. So Brooks finished second in the Masters. He won the PGA Championship, and that kind of catapulted him into that points. We are still adhering to the points. The top 6 of our point list will get into the Ryder Cup automatic. The next 6 will be captain selections. And they have to be a member of the PGA of America. So I get this question all the time: how are those guys members of the PGA of America when they're not on a recognized tour? Well, in our Constitution and bylaw, we have this opportunity where someone can go into a reserve status. They get a grace period for up to a year, over a year. As an example, if I were to lose my position today, I would have until the end of our fiscal year, our membership year, so end of June, plus I would get a year more, so I'd get 15 months. And then once that happens, I can go into a reserve classification, which all fits under being a PGA member. That's how the players find that loophole and stay within the confines of qualifying as a PGA of America member.
Here, one more quick one, buddy.
We do. Seth Waugh sits on the official world golf ranking table. And here again, I think you may have seen Greg Norman say, we're waving the white flag, we're not going at it. The official world golf ranking committee has a list of qualifications. It's pretty self-explanatory. 72 hole events. There has to be a qualifying procedure. You have to have cuts. All those boxes are boxes that LIV currently doesn't check, nor have they checked. And the official World Golf Ranking Committee has not budged off of that. It also takes on average about 2 years for the official World Golf Ranking Committee to vet a tour to see if it qualifies and meets all the standards by which they uphold everybody else. So at this point in time, LIV players will not get official World Golf Rankings, but you do see some who have been relegated that go over to the Asian Tour, which can get points. So you'll see, like David Pugh has got some official World Golf Rankings because he's playing over in Asia when he got booted off some of the LIV events. So there is opportunity for some of them to gain points, but there is no conversation with LIV at this point as to how they can make their events match up because of the 72 hole, the qualifying status, and the cut. Yep. That by the policies they shouldn't, but they do have some events that have applied for it. And I don't know which ones those are because I'm not sitting on the committee, but there are some. So as an example, if a 72-hole event goes to 54 holes, no, because it's a 72-hole schedule. So like, Pebble Beach that got rained out at the end of 54 holes, they still get points for that, if that was the question.
It's amazing how fast 30 minutes goes by, so we want to be respectful of time so we can move on. And a lot of these questions from the audience covered the majority of the topics that were submitted beforehand. I will ask one final question to John. This was submitted by an anonymous Gateway PGA member that really topic that hasn't been addressed yet. When you think about your seat as president in relation to the other officers, what is it like to have a secretary that is younger, better looking, and can also beat you on the golf course? I don't know who submitted that question. It's not.
Well, since that's never happened, it's really hard for me to say.
All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, John, and thank you, Barry. At this time, we're going to move into our formal business meeting. To begin the business meeting, please join me in a moment of silence as we remember our fellow PGA members, both local and nationwide, who have passed away since our last meeting. Thank you. The minutes of the 2023 fall membership meeting were previously emailed to the membership. I ask for a motion that the minutes from the membership meeting be approved. Have a motion? Good. And a second? Lance? Okay. With hearing no objections or abstentions, the minutes are approved. I would now like to call up Allie Wells to give her executive director's report. Allie?
Thanks, Grant. I will be quick again with respect to time. I have a few things that a couple of notes I wanted to reiterate from the opening segment about our 2023 wins and successes. Just I think it's worth drawing attention towards in frames, again, some of the focus for 2024 and where your leadership committees and staff will be working. In just 2023, the Gateway PGA dispersed more than $670,000 of money directly into PGA members and associates' pockets through PGA Junior League, foundation programs like PGA Hope and PGA Able, and tournament purses. We drove over $202,000 of revenue directly to PGA facilities, to the Gateway PGA Junior Tour, foundation programs, and the tournament program. and we tracked over $468,000 of documented compensation increases to Gateway members. I want to note that these are only the compensation increases that we know of, that were documented and tracked through things like comp profiles and communications with Jackie, Madison, and the like. We believe we'll see an even more significant increase in this number in 2024, as we have 65 more individuals that started a compensation profile in 2023 that had not created one prior to that. So it just stresses the importance of creating that profile and updating it every year so we can get accurate numbers and help continue to drive compensation upwards. I wanted to call out a couple of things in the committee reports. First being the tournament majors. We called it out earlier, I think in the fall meeting. It's included in your tournament or in your committee report. But drawing attention towards our match play championship, PGA Professional Championship, Senior PGA Professional Championship, and Assistants Championship. Last year, we had a particular focus on encouraging new members to play that had not played in the tournament program before. And with 16 new individuals participating in national qualifiers, it's a tremendous win, and we want to see that number continue to increase this year. I want to take a quick note as I tend to give any staff updates from this podium when applicable. If you haven't met Precious Jackson yet, she's our new PGA Works Fellow, and she's here with us from January through August. She's been a tremendous addition to the team already, and she's jumping in headfirst into all things PGA Reach Gateway Foundation programming. If you see her, please give her a warm welcome to the Gateway PGA staff. And then last, I'd just like to offer a thank you to the individuals in leadership capacity. We mentioned the number of PGA members that have served on a committee at one point in 2023. I'm not going to take the time to list all of them because lunch is waiting. Screen individuals that chair or co-chair a certain committee. I want to thank you all for volunteering your time above and beyond your paying job to serve the section. And I also wanted to do so with the other members of the boards of directors. You obviously see the three officers sitting up here, but please reach out to anyone on the board if you have thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. George Schraggs, our Northern Illinois, Northern Missouri director. Kevin Dunn is our Mid-Missouri director. Jack Connell is our Southern Illinois, Southern Missouri director. Jeff Whitfield is our Metro St. Louis director. Lance Fleury is our presidential appointment. Brett Mooney is our honorary past president. Nick Ragone is our at-large director, and David Jolly is our PGA Reach Gateway Foundation at-large director. Thank you all.
Thank you, Allie. At this time, I would like to call up Adam Betts for the Secretary's report.
Tight squeeze back there. Surprised I made it. Thank you all. All of these membership changes in our section are accomplishments that reflect members' activity as of the spring meeting 2023. When I call your name, please stand. We have 3 newly elected members, Jean Corello, Emily Van Ree, and Michael Warlaw. Congratulations. Also excited to announce that we have 22 new associates joining the PGA of America in the Gateway section. If you are here, please stand to be recognized. Lewis Blythe, Brian Burdick, Nate Davis, Sophie Faulkner, Alex Gorman, Blaze Haxel, coolest name ever, Michael Haney, Joe Hoff, AJ Johnson, Mitch Krebs, Devin Lindoff, J.D. McGee, Nick Messenger, McKenna Montgomery, Josh O'Hearn, Will Orth, Will Postlethwaite. I think I nailed it. Awesome. Got it, Grant. Dale Prater, Moya Russell, Will Scheipeter, Donald Spencer, and Daniel Kaufman Wagner. Congratulations, everybody, and welcome. We're excited to have each and every one of you, and please be sure to take advantage of the resources that are available to you as associates. If you haven't already introduced yourself to Jackie Madison, she can be an incredible resource for you. So I suggest you get to know her and how she can help you in your career, along with the Assistants Association and all the steam we have going with that association. It could be a great resource for you and your career. On to new members that have transferred into our section. We've got Jenna Apple, and please stand if you're here. Jenna Apple, Mike Holcomb, Mark Monroe, and Tyler Leffler. Welcome to the Gateway section. I know we're short on time, so I'll keep this quick. I just want to take a moment and thank Allie Wells and her great staff at the Gateway PGA. In my first year and a half as officer, I see what they're faced with day in and day out. They've got a long list of to-dos, and it's all representing the betterment of us as members. And so to the Gateway staff, Allie and her staff, you guys are rock stars. Thank you for all you guys do for us. Thank you to our sponsors for being here. David, Under Armour, we do appreciate that. We appreciate the time that John Linder, Barry Howard, Austin Jarko, obviously Sean Hanna, Mike Ray, and Jackie Madison. Thank you all for being here and taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. And thank you for Norwood for hosting and having us. We're looking forward to a blustery, windy day out there. At least it's not raining, so that's a good thing. We do have the TNT shootout after lunch. We encourage you all to come cheer on all the qualifiers. Congratulations for those that are qualifying and competing today in that closest to the pin contest. It will be out on 18 West. So I encourage you to go out there and hopefully we see a hole-in-one. And then we have the Quad Pro. Excited to play with all of you. Hopefully you're involved today. I do want to take a moment and encourage everybody to get involved in the tournament program if you aren't already involved in the past. We've got a great lineup of courses. Wanted to say thank you to all the clubs and courses that step up to make our tournament program lineup as successful it is. We got a great lineup this year, so hope to see everybody out at the tournaments. And in light of Happy Gilmore announcing that they're going to make a Happy Gilmore 2, go out there and go get them today.
Thank you, Adam. At this time, I'd like to call up Gideon Smith, our Vice President, for his report. Gideon?
It is an extremely tight squeeze back here, so I'm going to have to lose a few pounds, I think, if we're going to continue this setup here. So I get to talk to you about the numbers, and so I've got all kinds of notes. Allie gives me all kinds of notes, so I'll kind of mumble through these things here real quick and kind of keep us on track. So our first slide you'll see is our assets, and our total assets right now we're at 1.7 million, and we are in a good position there. If you look at 2022 versus 2023 on cash and cash equivalents, that would be that we had sold a building and now we own a building. So that will be a little bit of the difference there. Another big number that you might see is the intercompany receivable payable net of $551,000. That is the transfer of the funds from the foundation to the section. It is recognized, obviously, at the end of the year at 12/31 of 2023. The big thing is going forward, we're going to try to make this more quarterly than one big lump sum. So if you head to our next slide, you look at liabilities and net assets. Some of these items that you might see here are kind of staying pretty constant. The combination, the accounts payable and accrued expenses, that's a combination of payroll due, accrued expenses, and payables on the books. If you look down a little bit, current portion of notes payable, let's see here, of 11,000. That's a little bit of a difference there. But more than anything, as you look through, we're doing very well. The notes payable of 332, obviously that's the financing of the building that we have now currently. And if you go into the next slide of basically our G&A and everything else that goes on, a little bit of the expenses increased. That was obviously we thought of that already in the sense that we had to buy furniture, audio visual equipment, and everything else that we needed to move into our new facility. A new line item that is pretty cool is the assistance division, and that is funds that our assistance association has earned, and that is there for them to use. But everything else is pretty much on par, and Allie and her team do an amazing job. I got to sit with her in Florida and with I believe our tax folks, and they were very impressed with what Allie does on a day in and day out business items. So next on my cheat sheet here is I get to talk about town halls. And so this is kind of a thing that we started again last year. Last year we went to mid-Missouri. Thank you, Kevin Dunn and the group down at the lake. And also we went to Central Illinois, which was, thank you, Lance Fleury and George Schrag, who set those up. This is your ability to come and ask the officers and our section staff questions that you may have. So this year, right now, we have got one set up for Metro St. Louis on April 16th. It'll be at 8 to 9 a.m. So you'll be able to get in and out. I'm sure we'll have some Danishes or something for you. You will have to sign up for that. Also, we will have one in the southern Illinois, Missouri area. Thank you, Jack and Billy, for hosting that at Dalhousie, and I believe that is on the 24th of April. So these are your opportunities to be able to ask us questions. I think that Allie, Ab, and I will be at the one at Dalhousie. Grant will be hosting the Women's District. Is that correct, luncheon? So we will obviously cover that as well. So we always look forward to the town halls. They're always good to hear what you're thinking about or whatnot. So next, we have the Gateway PGA Foundation news. We are pairing up, as you see, if he's played in the Pro-Am last year, you saw the drinks that have Aussie, they're called the backflip. And so these items, this company that produces these drinks has gone on and is going to donate 25 cents to every case that they sell. It's being distributed, I believe, I'm not familiar with all the stores down here, but like Deerbergs and Schnucks and all your majors. Also, I think I read that it's going to be potentially at your facilities. So obviously we want to push that because part of those proceeds go to our foundation. It is Gray Eagle, also, I believe, is the distributor, and they are going to also donate another 25 cents. So that is a huge asset for our foundation, and obviously I think that that's going to grow immense. So that is my report. I thank you very much, Grant, Allie, Adam. Thank you for everything that you do, and we'll see you out there on the golf course.
Excuse me. Thank you, Gideon. I will trim my president's report a little bit in the effort of saving a little time here, getting back on schedule. I just wanted to mention tournaments. So we basically have a tournament every single week from now until mid-September. So thank you to the tournament committee for all the work of putting those together. One of the goals has been to have different types of events as well. So whether it's team events, Stableford, Pro-Ams, par 3 event, stroke play events, etc. This year, we're actually adding a Pro Scramble, April 22nd at Franklin County Country Club. All of this is an effort to get more engagement from everyone out there as far as playing golf and playing in some of the events. So hopefully there's at least an event or two that that fit in your schedule and you like the format of, and you'll come support this season. PGA Hope, one of the things I wanted to mention there, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off what Gideon said. He was talking about the sponsorship with the backflip Aussie beverage, and that revenue going into our foundation. Well, the foundation is where the money comes from when instructors are teaching PGA Hope, and those people are getting paid for their time. It's getting paid through or out of the foundation. So we've got 32 professionals that are already involved teaching PGA Hope programs. We expect to have 20 programs this year with 32 instructors so far. I'd love to see more add to that. But the main thing I wanted to touch on here was that you get paid for your time and you're qualifying for your deferred compensation on top of that. So hopefully more of you will continue to jump in there. Same thing goes with PGA Able. So again, you're getting paid for your time and you're having deferred compensation points accumulating, and you can get there really quick when you're involved in those programs. Junior Tour is going to grow again this year. It has been growing very rapidly. We expect somewhere between 850 to 900 junior golfers this year. We are still working on our history book. So that goes to print at the end of 2025, and we will distribute at the spring meeting in 2026. Allie and I met with Jim Healy the other day, the author of the book, the guy who's putting it all together. It's going to be a very impressive, thick coffee table book with all of the history of professional golf, starting before the Gateway PGA, starting, in the the late 1800s, all the way through. And then the highlight of the book will be over the past 50 years of Gateway PGA. So more to come on that. If Jim Healy reaches out to you, please help him out with names and information. The more we can tighten that up, the better, but it already looks amazing. So looking forward to that. And then finally, it's an election year. So we'll be electing a new secretary in the fall. So if anybody has interest in running for that position, we've already had one person reach out with interest, and that person came by and met with Allie and I, which is a great process. We'd love for that process to always be the case, to answer questions. So if you are interested in running, whether it's for secretary or any position that we have on committees and such, reach out to us so we can help answer questions, whether it's regards of how much time is involved or what the expectations are. We'd love to get out in front of that so everybody knows what they're getting into from the start. With that, the reports are now complete. I now ask for a motion to accept these reports. Got a motion there and a second? Perfect. Thank you. Hearing no objections or abstentions, the reports are approved. I will now open the floor for any open forum questions. Since no new business was submitted, we're going to open it up. Just a reminder, 2 minutes per question per person. Have any questions? Marvin? Thank you, Marvin. Anybody else for open forum? Dan? All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for getting Kevin Kirk lined up. That would be awesome. Anybody else for open forum? Yes, sir. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for all you do for junior golf, too. Anybody else? Open forum? Going once? Going twice? Okay. I just want to make a few closing comments. Again, I want to thank our sponsors today, Dave Reed with Fairways to Heaven, John Sheridan with Under Armour, and Ian Crick with Strakaline. Thank you all for your support. Also want to thank Norwood Hills again for having us today. It's a great facility, and thank you for letting us play golf this afternoon as well. Thanks to all our presenters. You guys did a great job today. Thanks to these guys for all coming in, Jackie for traveling in, taking time out of your schedules to help make the Gateway the Great Way. So appreciate that. The TNT shootout, we're going to try to start around 12:15 on the 18th green of the West course. The more the merrier out there. We'd love to put a little pressure on these folks when they're hitting these shots. So if you can, come over and watch it. We still have some time afterwards for you to hit a few balls, loosen up. Be sure to pick up your ID cards. Don't forget those. They're on the table. And most importantly, lunch is served over here. Thank you so much. Hope you learned something. Have a great day. See you on the course.